Chapter 1560. Elder Lu. Suddenly, the crowd was in an uproar. Willow Tree slowly walked out of the crowd. At this moment, he had regained his true appearance. He stood tall and had a gentle smile on his face, giving off an inexplicable sense of intimacy. However, no one knew that he was the one who killed Mu He with Yu Huang. Elder, where did you go? Did you know? Mu He of the Heavenly Sun Empire was killed by Qin Feiyang. This Qin Feiyang is the descendant of the Qin Emperor. A group of people from the Nether Hall immediately ran to Willow Tree and whispered, "The descendant of the Qin Emperor?" Willow Tree pretended to be surprised and walked to Qin Feiyang. He cupped his hands and smiled. "I'm Willow Tree from the Nether Hall. Greetings, little brother Qin." "This human pet is good at acting," Yu Huang mumbled. Qin Feiyang smiled and returned the greeting to Willow Tree. Willow Tree pretended not to know and asked, "Little brother, I heard that you're the descendant of the Qin Emperor?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "I didn't expect the descendant of the Qin Emperor to appear here. Nice to meet you. Little brother, would you give me the honor of coming to the Nether Hall?" Willow Tree smiled. Wang Yuanshan raised his eyebrows and said, "Willow Tree, what do you mean? Do you think I don't exist?" Willow Tree laughed and said, "Everyone in the Black Tortoise world knows about Elder Wang's hot temper. How would I dare to ignore your existence?" "Stop being sarcastic." Wang Yuanshan snorted coldly. "I wouldn't dare. After all, you have the support of the Vanga League. My Nether Hall can't afford to offend you." Willow Tree said with a smile, but anyone who wasn't an idiot could tell that he was mocking Wang Yuanshan. How could Wang Yuanshan not understand? His eyes flickered with cold light. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them. The smell of gunpowder was too strong. "Haha." Willow Tree suddenly laughed out loud. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Little brother, the future is long. Let's meet again if there's a chance." After saying that, then he led the Nether Pavilion's people away. Of course, he didn't really want to invite Qin Feiyang. It was just for show. After Willow Tree left, Wang Yuanshan finally withdrew his gaze. Looking at Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer, he regained his amiable look and said with a smile, "Let's go." Wang Yuer followed him obediently. Yu Huang glanced at Wang Yuanshan's back view and secretly sighed. "Looks like there are quite a few disputes here too." Qin Feiyang nodded. Putting everything else aside, just the main tower and the Nether Pavilion had an irreconcilable enmity between them. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he secretly muttered a few words to Yu Huang. Yu Huang's eyes lit up, and he immediately merged into the night sky and disappeared without a trace. In a magnificent hall, Wang Yuanshan sat on the main seat, and Wang Yuer sat beside him. As for Qin Feiyang, he sat opposite Wang Yuanshan. Two young women dressed as maids walked in with a teapot and brewed tea for the three of them one by one. Then they silently retreated to the side. However, whether it was the two maids or the guards outside, they would occasionally glance at Qin Feiyang. Their eyes filled with curiosity. Wang Yuanshan picked up the teacup and took a sip. He looked at Qin Feiyang very seriously and said, "Feiyang, in the future, you'd better stay away from that willow tree." Qin Feiyang was drinking tea. When he heard this, he was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, "Senior, why do you say that?" "This willow tree is an elder of the Nether Pavilion, and the Nether Pavilion is even older than our main tower. Its strength is extremely terrifying. As for this willow tree, although he seems polite, he's actually a sanctimonious villain," Wang Yuanshan said. Wang Yuer smiled and said, "Grandfather, you're thinking too much. In fact, we already know what kind of person Willow Tree is because it was Willow Tree who brought us here. The person who killed Mu He with Yu Huang was also Willow Tree in disguise." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He never expected that Wang Yuer would actually tell Wang Yuanshan about this matter. It happened too suddenly, and he couldn't stop it in time. "What? Willow Tree brought you here?" Wang Yuanshan was surprised. "This?" Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Yuer and nodded at Wang Yuanshan. "That's right." Since he had already exposed it, there was nothing to hide. "How do you know Willow Tree? Why did he help you kill Mu He?" Wang Yuanshan was suspicious. "This is a long story. Didn't Miss Yuer want to say it? You can ask her when you have time." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Wang Yuanshan looked at Wang Yuer. When Wang Yuer heard Qin Feiyang's words, her delicate body stiffened slightly. This was because she realized that whether it was Qin Feiyang's expression or the way he spoke earlier, they were somewhat different from before. There seemed to be a trace of coldness. Senior Wang, Miss Yuer knows what you want to know. You can ask her if you have any questions. I still have something to deal with, so I won't disturb you. When I have time in the future, I'll come and visit again. Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up and smiled. This, Wang Yuanshan was stunned. He had not even warmed his seat. Why was he leaving already? A trace of panic appeared on Wang Yuer's face. Goodbye. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands at Wang Yuanshan and smiled at Wang Yuer. Then, he turned and walked out of the hall without looking back. Wang Yuanshan was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Seeing this, Wang Yuer hurriedly got up and chased after him. She pulled Qin Feiyang's arm and asked, "Where are you going?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "If you don't know, why are you leaving? Is it because I told you about Willow Tree?" Wang Yuer said anxiously. Qin Feiyang said, "Since you know it in your heart, why did you still say it?" "Indeed this is the case," Wang Yuer muttered. "Do you know why I changed Willow Tree's appearance? I don't want others to know that he has already followed me." "But you didn't even ask me and directly told your grandfather. Do you know what the people of the Nether Hall will do to Willow Tree if the fact that he has followed me is exposed? They will definitely kill him," Qin Feiyang said, trying his best to control his emotions so that his tone did not sound so aggressive. Wang Yuer said, "What's wrong with telling my grandfather? If your grandfather is not from the main tower, it won't be a problem. But the problem is that your grandfather is from the main tower, and his status is not low. The main tower and the Nether Hall have always been at odds. Can you be sure that he won't use this matter to make a big fuss?" Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yuer's face turned slightly pale. "I can understand. You didn't hide anything because you trust your grandfather. But you have to understand me. One must always be on guard against others. I, Qin Feiyang, have never trusted anyone easily, let alone someone I just met. Stay here and have a good chat with your grandfather. When I leave, I will come and pick you up. If you don't want to leave, it's best to send me a message in advance and let me know." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he opened a teleportation door and walked in. "Am I more important, or is Willow Tree more important? Are you going to abandon me for Willow Tree?" Wang Yuer said angrily. "I can't answer this question." Qin Feiyang's footsteps paused slightly, then he said without looking back and quickly disappeared. Wang Yuer was burning with anxiety and was about to chase after him. But at this moment, Wang Yuanshan walked out and looked at the teleportation door. He said in surprise, "Your little boyfriend really left?" Wang Yuer glanced at Wang Yuanshan, and then at the disappearing teleportation door. She turned around and ran into the hall, lying on the table and crying bitterly. "Yuer, what's wrong? Did he bully you? Tell grandfather. Grandfather will go and settle the score with him." Wang Yuanshan hurried in and said anxiously. Wang Yuer said, "It's none of your business. Let me be alone for a while." Wang Yuanshan's face stiffened. He turned to look at the disappearing teleportation door, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Although he didn't know what was going on, he vaguely heard Wang Yuer mention Willow Tree when he was inside. It seemed that Yuer had told him about the Willow Tree, which made Qin Feiyang angry. "How dare you bully my descendant? Even if you are the descendant of Emperor Qin, I won't let you go." He muttered to himself, walked out of the hall and shouted, "Men!" Whoosh! A middle-aged man cut through the night sky and landed in front of Wang Yuanshan like lightning. He bowed and said, "Greetings, sir." This man was about 1.9 meters tall and had a finger-long scar on the corner of his mouth. He looked a little scary. Wang Yuanshan whispered a few words in the middle-aged man's ear. "Yes, sir." After listening, the middle-aged man responded respectfully. He turned around and soared into the sky, disappearing into the night sky. Late at night, at the stronghold of the Tianyang Empire, a blood-haired young man appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang. The stronghold of the Tianyang Empire had been reduced to ruins. There was no one around. It was dead silent. Qin Feiyang walked into the ruins alone and looked around as if he was waiting for something. Whoosh. Soon, a ray of light shot out from the ground somewhere in the ruins. Who else could it be but Yu Huang? However, when it saw Qin Feiyang, it was slightly stunned. It flew to Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, "Didn't you go to the stronghold of the main tower with Wang Yu? Why are you here? Where is Wang Yu?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I'm worried about you. That's why I came to take a look." Yu Huang rolled his eyes and said, "Stop talking nonsense. Did something happen?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "Wang Yu told Wang Yuanshan that Willow Tree is following us. To be honest, I'm a little angry that she acted on her own accord." "What? Is she stupid? Doesn't she know about the conflict between the main tower and the Nether Hall? She actually told Wang Yuanshan. Isn't this pushing Willow Tree into a fire pit? You have to tell Willow Tree about this as soon as possible and let him be prepared. Otherwise, he will be in danger when this matter is leaked." Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and said, "I think so too." Qin Feiyang nodded and sighed. "Of course, I hope that Wang Yuanshan is not that kind of person. Come on. We've only met once. Do you know what kind of person he is? It's hard to know what's in a person's heart. It's better to be safe. Besides, it wasn't easy to subdue such a pet. I don't want him to die young." Chapter 1561. Don't always call me a pet. We've already fought side by side for so long. No matter how deep the grudge is, it's time to end it and leave some face for others. Qin Feiyang said, "You're really magnanimous. But I'm sorry, this emperor is a very vengeful person." Yu Huang coldly snorted. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and asked, "Any gains?" "No." Yu Huang shook his head and said, "The treasures here were probably moved away by Muhi in advance." "Moved? Don't tease me. Before we killed Muhi, he didn't receive any news at all. How could he have moved the treasures here in advance? Hurry up and take it out. We'll enjoy it together and endure it together." Qin Feiyang said, "Not doing it. This emperor has contributed the most to killing Muhi this time. All the treasures here should belong to this emperor." Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyang laughed. "So, there are indeed treasures here? Holy shit. You're actually trying to trick this emperor? Brat, you're not honest." Yu Huang said angrily. Only then did he react. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "You can take all of it. Just treat it as your reward." "What do you mean? Reward? This is what this emperor obtained with his own ability. How can it be called a reward? Let me tell you, if you want to say it like that, this emperor doesn't want it. You want to give me a reward? All right, this emperor doesn't want anything else. I only want the potential pill. Do as you see fit." Yu Huang took out 5 Cosmos bag from the Qi Si and threw them to Qin Feiyang like trash, and said, "These are all the treasures here. Keep them well." Qin Feiyang grabbed the Cosmos bag and lowered his head to check. If he didn't look, he wouldn't know. These 5 Cosmos bag were actually all medicinal herbs. Moreover, they were basically all 10,000 years old. "So many. Where did you find them?" Qin Feiyang asked in shock. "Below." Yu Huang pointed to the ground and said, "There is a treasure trove below. It is very hidden. This emperor found it with great difficulty." "Not bad, not bad." Qin Feiyang laughed, his face full of pride. "And?" Yu Huang suspiciously looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Brat, why do I feel like I've been schemed by you again?" "No." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand, revealing an innocent expression. "Wrong. This emperor. The rewards by..." Yu Huang cursed. Qin Feiyang laughed. "Don't worry, before I leave, I will give you the potential pill." Yu Huang's eyes lit up and he threatened, "You better keep your word, otherwise don't blame this emperor for being impolite to you." "Don't worry, don't worry." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Yu Huang said, "Wait, I heard from Fatso that you seem to have an ancient book called the Pill Scripture?" "That's right." Qin Feiyang nodded. Yu Huang asked, "Then is there a pill formula for the spirit congealing pill?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang said. "That's good. Hurry up and refine some spirit congealing pills for this emperor." As long as there are enough spirit-congealing pills, coupled with your ancient castle, the time is different from the outside. This emperor is confident that I can step into the war god realm within 1,000 years. Yu Huang said excitedly. And Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, to step into the war god realm, don't you need to comprehend the profound meaning of becoming a god? No. This profound meaning was comprehended before breaking through to the false god realm. In other words, when breaking through to the false god realm, you have already thoroughly comprehended the profound meaning of becoming a god. Next, you just need to condense your divine soul. However, condensing the divine soul is not only very difficult, but also a very long process. Without a great fortune or a heaven-defying pill, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years are common. Yu Huang said. So difficult? Qin Feiyang was shocked. That's right. There are many creatures in the world that are trapped in the false god realm because they can't condense their divine soul. But if there are a lot of spirit-congealing pills, it's different. Spirit-congealing pills can help creatures quickly condense their divine soul. Once the divine soul appears, they can naturally step into the war god realm. Yu Huang said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. After that, he stared at Yu Huang with a strange look on his face. Why are you looking at me like that? Yu Huang was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, you just said that it will take 1,000 years to condense a divine soul after refining a lot of spirit-congealing pills. Yes. Yu Huang nodded. Qin Feiyang's face twitched and he said speechlessly, 1,000 years is so long. Why are you so excited? Damn. 1,000 years is long. Then what about some people who can't condense a divine soul after tens of thousands of years? Kid, don't be arrogant. Condensing a divine soul is not as easy as you think. If it's really that easy, wouldn't there be as many war gods in the world today? Let me tell you, creatures who can condense a divine soul within 1,000 years are rare geniuses that only appear once in 1,000,000 years. Yu Huang snorted. Qin Feiyang said. From what you said, you are one of these geniuses? Do you really want to go against me? What I mean is, according to the time in your castle, I can step into the war god realm within 1,000 years. Then if it's the time outside, it will definitely take longer. Yu Huang said angrily. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. I won't tease you anymore. It's definitely not a problem to refine the spirit-congealing pills, but you have to have medicinal herbs. Yu Huang pointed to the 5 qiankuan bags and said, I don't believe that I can't get one set with so many medicinal herbs. I have to count them out to know. I have a lot of spiritual infant fruits, but the other medicinal herbs. To be honest, I haven't cared about these things since Dan Wangkai followed me. So I don't know a lot of medicinal herbs. How about this? I'll give these qiankuan bags to Dan Wangkai first, and let him sort them out. Let's see how many sets he can gather. Qin Feiyang said. Yu Huang said. It's all a small matter. I can go to the castle to help tidy it up. Is there a need to be so anxious? Qin Feiyang was helpless. Nonsense. How can this matter not be urgent? Yu Huang rolled his eyes at him. Wait. Even if you can refine the spirit-congealing pills, you can't break through to the war god realm in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang said. Why can't I? Yu Huang was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said. Didn't the willow tree say that the Black Tortoise world also has rules and restrictions that can only break through to the false god realm? Then it's fine if we're not in the Black Tortoise world. Anyway, we'll leave the Black Tortoise world sooner or later. Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyang said in surprise. Can you break through to the war god realm outside? For outsiders like you, it's definitely not possible. But we can. However, I've also heard that after beasts like us break through to the war god realm, we'll be taken away by the guardians of the divine ruins. Yu Huang said. Then that's it. When you break through to the war god realm, and the guardians of the divine ruins come to take you away, do you dare to resist? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Why wouldn't I dare to resist? If you dare to beat it up, I dare to do the same. Yu Huang coldly snorted. Qin Feiyang said. You say it as if it's true. When that giant python arrives, you'll be as obedient as a little lamb. Are you looking down on me? Yu Huang's embarrassment turned into anger. It was indeed afraid of the guardians of the divine ruins. But don't say it so directly. I'm not looking down on you, it's the truth. Not to mention you, even I have to take a detour when I see it. Qin Feiyang sighed. In the past, with the Qi and Blood Pearl, he could still fight, but now that the Qi and Blood Pearl was shattered, he was no longer able to shake the giant python's power. Yu Huang raised his eyebrows and said, "You're refusing again and again. Do you not want to give me the spirit congealing pill?" Qin Feiyang said, "Do you want to hear the truth?" "Nonsense." Yu Huang angrily waited for him. The herbs for the spirit congealing pill are very difficult to find, especially the spiritual infant fruit. I'm lucky to find so many. If I'm unlucky, I'm afraid I won't be able to find even one in my life. And you also know that Fatso and the White-Eyed Wolf are all loyal to me, so I must consider them first. As the saying goes, there are too many monks and too little gruel. I hope you can understand my difficulties. Qin Feiyang sighed. Hypocrite. Don't you just want me to follow you and work for you? Yu Huang rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. He was actually seen through, and it was a little awkward. Yu Huang lowered his head, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, it seemed to have made a decision as it looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "How about this? Let me refine the spiritual infant fruit first, and I'll take you to the capital of the Tianyang Empire to loot their treasury." Loot their treasury? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This guy is too crazy. The people of the Tianyang Empire have been living in the Black Tortoise world for so many years. Coupled with the restrictions of the rules, they can't break through to the War God realm. Therefore, the herbs for the spirit congealing pill are meaningless to them. I'm afraid it's not even as good as a battle chi pill. So I believe that there must be a lot of them in their treasury. Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. He actually didn't think of this. The Black Tortoise world had restrictions. Not only the people of the Tianyang Empire, but even the people of the Main Tower, the Nether Hall, the Vanga League, and the Fengtian Palace couldn't break through to the War God realm. If they couldn't break through to the War God realm, then as Yu Huang said, the spirit congealing pill was worthless. It wasn't just the Tianyang Empire. The other forces must have a lot of herbs for the spirit congealing pill. Wasn't this a good opportunity? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He stared at Yu Huang. The strength of the Heavenly Sun Empire is so strong. Are you confident? Yu Huang said, "Don't worry, if I can't find enough herbs for you, I'll..." "What?" Qin Feiyang looked at it expectantly. Yu Huang clenched its teeth and said, "I'll give myself to you." Qin Feiyang burst out laughing. A ferocious beast actually dared to say that it wanted to repay him with its body. Why did it sound so weird? Fortunately, there was no one around. Otherwise, if they heard Yu Huang's words, they would definitely look at him strangely. Chapter 1562. Of course, Yu Huang's words were not what Qin Feiyang had imagined. What he meant was that if he could not find enough herbs, he would follow him in the future. This was a good thing for Qin Feiyang. At the very least, it meant that Yu Huang had a good impression of him now. He did not stay any longer. After sending Yu Huang and a few universe bags to the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang changed his appearance slightly and asked someone to find out where the Nether Hall's stronghold was. Then he went to look for Willow Tree. In a certain ancient hall, Willow Tree sat upright on a chair. A man and a woman stood respectfully below him. Both of them looked middle-aged and had shrewd eyes. They were the people in charge of the Nether Hall here. "Elder, Peach Blossom City has always had rules. No one can destroy the buildings in the city." However, this Qin Feiyang not only killed people in Peach Blossom City, but also destroyed a large number of buildings. Why didn't you even say a word of blame? The two of them frowned. Willow Tree pursed his lips. Right now, his life was still in Qin Feiyang's hands. How dare he be impudent? After pondering for a while, Willow Tree said something very cruel. "Rules have always been for the weak." When the two of them heard that, they immediately fell silent. That's right. Only the weak would follow the rules. As for the strong, who would care so much? The rules were useless in front of them. If they were unhappy, they would break them. What could they do? They could only watch helplessly. At this moment, a guard ran into the hall and said respectfully, "Greetings, Elder." What's the matter? Willow Tree asked. The guard said, there's someone outside who claims to be your old friend and wants to see you. Ridiculous. How can there be an old friend of Elder Willow Tree in Peach Blossom City? He must be here to curry favor. Just chase him away. The two people in charge shouted. The guard hesitated as he looked at Willow Tree. Old friend. Lumu pondered and didn't say anything. Hurry up and go. We've seen a lot of people like this who try to curry favor with others. The man and woman sneered. Yes. Hearing the two of them speak again, the guard respectfully responded and turned to leave. At this moment, Willow Tree seemed to have thought of something. He suddenly looked at the guard and said, let him in. The man and woman looked at the Willow Tree in surprise. Was he really Elder Lu's friend? Yes. The guard was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly ran out. A short while later, the guard led a middle-aged man into the main hall. How unfamiliar. The man and woman sized up the middle-aged man, their eyes full of suspicion. Willow Tree was also sizing up the burly man. Suddenly he waved his hand and said, all of you back down. Yes. The man and woman and the guard bowed respectfully, then turned and left the hall. Willow Tree said, close the door while you're at it. The guard turned around and closed the door. At this moment, Willow Tree got up, looked at the middle-aged man and asked, you are? The middle-aged man took out a face-restoring pill and threw it into his mouth. Soon he turned into a young man in white. Who else could it be but Qin Feiyang? It's really you. Willow Tree smiled bitterly and asked, didn't you go to the main tower's stronghold? Why are you here so soon? It's a long story. I came to find you because there's an emergency. Qin Feiyang said with a sullen face. What emergency? Seeing Qin Feiyang's serious face, Willow Tree also became nervous. Qin Feiyang said, Wang Yu told Wang Yuanshan that you're following me. What? Willow Tree's eyes trembled and he said angrily, what is she doing? Is she trying to kill me? She didn't mean that. After all, Wang Yuanshan is her grandfather. In her opinion, it's fine to tell Wang Yuanshan. Qin Feiyang said. What do you mean it's fine? Do you really know Wang Yuanshan? He's also a ruthless person, and he's always had a problem with the Nether Hall. Also, he's very protective. When you came out just now, did you have a falling out with Wang Yu? Willow Tree asked. What do you mean? I just said a few words to her. Qin Feiyang said. Willow Tree said. Where was Wang Yuanshan at that time? In the main hall inside. Wang Yu and I were outside the door. At that time, I spoke quite softly. But, at this point Qin Feiyang frowned. But what? Willow Tree asked. Qin Feiyang said. But in the end Wang Yu shouted a few words. Wang Yuanshan should have heard it. That's not good. That damned old man is famous in the Black Tortoise world for being protective. He'll definitely cause trouble for you because of Wang Yu. When you went to the main tower's stronghold, I should have warned you. Willow Tree looked a little annoyed. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile. It's okay. I'm not even afraid of the fire dragon and the giant python, let alone Wang Yuanshan. If he really dares to cause trouble for me, I'll make him pay the price. You're a typical example of a newborn calf not being afraid of a tiger. Willow Tree shook his head. Boom. Before he finished speaking, suddenly, a terrifying aura descended above the main hall. Willow Tree was shocked and hurriedly turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He said in a low voice, quickly hide. This is the aura of the Nether Hall's Grand Elder. Grand Elder? Why is he here? Could it be that Wang Yuanshan has already leaked the news? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Willow Tree's heart sank. He said, if that's the case, then the situation is not good. You go to the castle first, I'll act according to the situation. Okay. I'll support you in the dark at any time. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he instantly disappeared without a trace. Bang. In the next moment, the door of the main hall was kicked open. An old man with white hair slowly walked into the main hall, with a crimson gold walking stick. His figure was hunched and his face was old. It seemed like he already had one foot in the coffin, but his aura was extremely strong. That cold and indifferent expression gave people a sense of oppression without being angry. Willow Tree hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. "Greetings, Grand Elder." At this moment, the two people in charge ran in and knelt on one knee. They said respectfully, "Greetings, Grand Elder." The Grand Elder nodded and scanned the main hall. He looked at Willow Tree and asked, "Is there no one else here?" Willow Tree's heart skipped a beat. He said, "An old friend came to visit earlier, but he already left." With the two people in charge here, there was no way to hide it. Therefore, he might as well admit it. The Grand Elder said meaningfully, "I didn't expect you to have an old friend in Peach Blossom City." Willow Tree smiled embarrassedly. The Grand Elder said, "Come back to the main tower with this old man. The tower master wants to see you." Willow Tree asked in surprise, "What important matter is it that requires you to come and pick me up personally?" The Grand Elder said, "It's very important. It concerns the future of my nether hall." Willow Tree's eyes immediately flickered. If there really was something, the tower master could just send him a message. There was no need for the Grand Elder to come personally. It was obvious. The tower master was afraid that he would slip away. It seemed that Wang Yuanshan had really leaked the news. The Grand Elder said impatiently, "What are you waiting for? Let's go." Willow Tree ignored the Grand Elder and said, "If the tower master wants to see me, why didn't he send me a message? Why did he send you here? Why are you asking so much? Could it be that you have a guilty conscience?" The Grand Elder asked with a hoarse laugh. Willow Tree frowned and said, "Grand Elder, let's not beat around the bush. Just be straightforward. Why are you here?" The Grand Elder said, "You should know very well why this old man is here." "I don't understand." Willow Tree shook his head. Seeing the two's expressions and their conversation, the two people in charge exchanged glances. What is going on? Why does it feel like the atmosphere is off? You don't understand? All right, this old man will explain it to you then. Not long ago, the Tower Master received a secret report saying that you betrayed my nether hall and sought refuge with the great Qin Emperor's descendant, Qin Feiyang. Hence, the Tower Master ordered this old man to bring you back for questioning. If you don't have a guilty conscience, then obediently return with this old man. But if you resist, then it proves that such a thing is true," said the Grand Elder, and his eyes flickered with cold light. Damn it! Willow Tree was extremely furious. "Grand Elder, what's going on? How could Elder Willow Tree betray our nether hall? There's definitely something wrong here. Perhaps someone is intentionally slandering Elder Willow Tree and trying to make us fight amongst ourselves," said the two people in charge. The Grand Elder glanced at them and said indifferently, "Do you have the right to speak here? Shut up for this old man." Even though his voice was flat, it carried an extraordinary pressure. Their figures trembled, and they immediately shut their mouths and stood obediently at the side. The Grand Elder looked at Willow Tree and said, "Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that someone is slandering you. So you have to cooperate with our investigation." "What if I don't cooperate?" said Willow Tree. "Don't cooperate? As an elder of the Nether Hall, you should be clearly aware of the consequences of betraying the Nether Hall," said the Grand Elder. Sigh. Willow Tree sighed deeply. It seemed that there was no other way out. Boom. Suddenly, the Grand Elder released his divine consciousness and instantly enveloped the entire hall. Willow Tree knew that things were not good. As expected, in the next moment, the Grand Elder caught sight of the ancient castle, and killing intent surged in his eyes. He looked at Willow Tree and said sternly, "Who's hiding in the dark? Qin Feiyang? Where's Qin Feiyang?" The two people in charge were bewildered. Swoosh. At the same time, an invisible force appeared out of thin air and swept up Willow Tree before disappearing without a trace. As expected, it's Qin Feiyang. The Grand Elder said word by word, and the power of a false god surged out. A barrier instantly appeared and enveloped the entire hall. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang's face was gloomy. He was about to drive the ancient castle away from this place. However, he did not expect the Grand Elder to react so quickly and directly seal the surrounding void. Willow Tree's face was also gloomy. He said, "The matter has been exposed. There's no other choice. I'll go out and destroy the barrier. You come and help me. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and waved his hand. Willow Tree immediately appeared in the hall. Bastard, you actually became a traitor. Chapter 1563. Since things have come to this, I won't explain anything. Let's fight. Break for me. Willow Tree roared, and the power of the false god poured out like a torrent toward the barrier. Rumble. Accompanied by a loud bang, the barrier shattered. The terrifying shockwave instantly destroyed the entire hall. Moreover, Willow Tree did not retract the power of the false god. The power of the false god continued to rush forward. Huge buildings collapsed one after another. Willow Tree shouted, Qin Feiyang, quick! Inside the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought Willow Tree into the ancient castle. Willow Tree said in a deep voice, the power of the false god that I left behind is enough to destroy the entire Peach Blossom City. The first elder will not let this happen, and will definitely stop it. Let's take the opportunity to escape. Qin Feiyang nodded, and immediately fled out of the city on his spatial divine item. As Willow Tree expected, the first elder did not chase after them. Instead, he went to stop the false god's power. Boom. However, 4 figures suddenly rushed out from the city below. These 4 people all looked very old, but their auras were extremely strong. As soon as the 4 of them appeared, the power of the false god surged out and condensed into a huge barrier, trapping the ancient castle inside. What? Willow Tree's expression changed drastically. Who are they? Qin Feiyang asked. Willow Tree said word by word. They are the 2nd elder, 3rd elder, 4th elder, and 5th elder of the Nether Hall. Damn. Including the 1st elder, there are 5 elders. In order to prevent you from escaping, they really put in a lot of effort. Yu Huang heard the commotion and stopped sorting the herbs. He ran to Qin Feiyang and Willow Tree's side, and exclaimed as he looked at the people on the screen. Willow Tree smiled bitterly. He did not feel honored at all. He only felt that he was unlucky. How could he escape when the 5 elders had arrived? Useless. Aren't they just 5 old men? What are you afraid of? Let me out. I'll use my divine weapon to beat them to a pulp. Yu Huang said proudly. Naive. Not long ago we killed Muhi. Everyone in Peach Blossom City saw it. The Great Elder and the others must have already received the news. If I'm not mistaken, they must have brought along divine artifacts as well. Willow Tree sneered. This? Yu Huang immediately lost his temper. At this moment, with a loud bang, the Great Elder shattered the pseudo-god force and rushed into the divine power barrier. What should we do? Willow Tree looked at Qin Feiyang. With the combined strength of the 5 elders, it was impossible for him and Yu Huang to kill their way out. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. The Great Elder suddenly shouted, Traitor, hurry up and come out for this old man. What's the situation? It's actually the 5 elders of the Nether Hall. What are they doing in Peach Blossom City? Who's the traitor? Peach Blossom City was not big to begin with. With such a big commotion, it immediately alarmed everyone. Everyone soared into the sky and looked at the 5 great elders and the divine power barrier, discussing animatedly. Whoosh! At the main tower's stronghold, Wang Yuanshan also stood in the air, looking at the divine power barrier with a sneer on his face. Grandfather, what's going on? Wang Yuer suddenly rose into the air and looked at Wang Yuanshan. Of course it's to vent your anger for you, Wang Yuanshan said dotingly. Vent my anger for me? Wang Yuer was suspicious. Willow Tree, Qin Feiyang, if you don't come out, don't blame this old man for being impolite. The Great Elder roared again. Willow Tree? Qin Feiyang. Wang Yuer was stunned. She looked at Wang Yuanshan in surprise and asked, why are they trapped? Wait a minute, you said you would help me vent my anger. Could it be that you? That's right. I sent someone to inform the Nether Hall. Wang Yuanshan nodded. Grandfather, you're going too far. Did you ask for my opinion before doing this? Do you know that Qin Feiyang has always been amenable to coaxing but not coercion? You'll only make him hate me more. Wang Yuer said angrily. She turned to look at the divine power barrier and shook her head. No, I have to help them. You'll help? What do you have to help? With your little strength? Wang Yuanshan grabbed her and said angrily. Wang Yuer said, I'm not very strong, but I can't just watch Qin Feiyang fall into a desperate situation. Silly child. Grandfather is doing this for your own good. Just wait and see. Grandfather promises that Qin Feiyang will obediently apologize to you later. Amenable to coaxing but not coercion. This old man doesn't believe that he can be stubborn in the face of the threat of death. Wang Yuanshan said disdainfully. Looking at Wang Yuanshan's face, Wang Yuer's face was filled with disappointment. She muttered, Qin Feiyang is right. I shouldn't have trusted you and told you about the willow tree. How dare you? Wang Yuanshan was furious and shouted. Men! 2 burly men flew into the air. Both of them were 9-star combat emperors. Wang Yuanshan shouted. Take good care of the young miss for this old man. If anything happens to her, this old man will hold you responsible. Yes. The 2 burly men responded and stood on Wang Yuer's left and right. They said respectfully, Young miss, don't make things difficult for us. Grandfather. Wang Yuer glared at Wang Yuanshan, but Wang Yuanshan ignored her. He stared at the divine power barrier, his brows filled with hostility. Obviously, he was still a self-centered person. Wang Yuer contradicted him in public, which made him very unhappy. Inside the divine power barrier, the great elder's face became more and more gloomy. He suddenly waved his hand and shouted, Attack! The second elder, the third elder, the fourth elder, and the fifth elder moved in unison. Waves of pseudo-divine power surged and blasted towards the ancient castle. They could all use their divine sense to lock onto the ancient castle, so the pseudo-divine power could accurately bombard the ancient castle. Rumble! Under the bombardment of the pseudo-divine power, ear-splitting noises constantly rang out in the ancient castle. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were extremely hesitant. If the ancient castle was destroyed, what would they do? However, as time passed, the ancient castle was still intact. The man and the beast couldn't help but be surprised. He was too resistant to being beaten up. Qin Feiyang laughed. In this world, I have never seen anything that can damage the ancient castle. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were stunned. So confident? Yu Huang said angrily. Then why didn't you say so earlier? You made me worry for so long. It's not like you haven't seen the ancient castle's power. What are you afraid of? When we were outside, facing the fire dragon and the guardian python, the ancient castle could contend with them, let alone a few pseudo-gods. Qin Feiyang said disdainfully. I was nervous and forgot. Yu Huang smiled embarrassedly. Outside, the great elder's eyes gradually revealed a trace of disbelief. It seemed that the spatial divine item in Qin Feiyang's hand was not just a simple spatial divine item. Then this old man wants to see if your spatial divine item is harder, or if my divine item is sharper. The great elder's eyes suddenly flashed with a sharp light, accompanied by a loud clang. A ray of light shot out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, a sharp light that could tear heaven and earth rolled out in the divine power barrier. Great elder, you can't revive the divine item. Yes. Once the 2 divine items collide, Peach Blossom City will not be able to hold on. Seeing this, the second elder, third elder, fourth elder, and fifth elder hurriedly shouted. The great elder said, If we can't hold on, let them withdraw from Peach Blossom City first. The 4 elders looked at each other with a troubled expression on their faces. Peach Blossom City did not belong to the Nether Palace. They did not have the authority. Moreover, Wang Yuanshan was watching from afar. They had to ask Wang Yuanshan's opinion on whether to withdraw or not. Wang Yuanshan's eyes flashed, and he shouted, The people of the main tower, withdraw from Peach Blossom City immediately. The great elder and the other 4 were stunned and looked at Wang Yuanshan in surprise. So straightforward. Logically speaking, as Wang Yuer's relative, shouldn't he protect Qin Feiyang? Wait. Could it be that Wang Yuanshan was the one who leaked the secret? When Wang Yuanshan sent someone to leak the news, he did not reveal his identity, so the people of the Nether Palace still did not know that all of this was done by Wang Yuanshan. However, no matter what the reason was, it was a good thing for them. Because once the main tower withdrew, the others would naturally withdraw with them. After all, now that the stronghold of the Heavenly Sun Empire had been uprooted, only the Nether Palace and the main tower were left in Peach Blossom City. In the face of a confrontation between fake gods, the others did not want to retreat. In order to survive, they had to retreat. The Great Elder shouted, "The people of the Nether Palace, withdraw from Peach Blossom City immediately." The people of the two forces immediately packed up their things and retreated out of the city. When the others in the city saw this, they could only quickly pack up their valuables and leave the city with them. In less than 100 breaths, the huge Peach Blossom City became an empty city. Wang Yuer was also brought to the sky above a huge mountain in the distance by the two burly men. At this point, the only people left in Peach Blossom City were the 5 elders of the Nether Palace and Wang Yuanshan. In the ancient castle, seeing this scene, Yu Huang ran into Qin Feiyang's arms like a frightened little girl and said in a coquettish voice, "Brother Qin, I'm scared." Hearing this, Qin Feiyang's scalp exploded. He grabbed Yu Huang and threw him aside. He said angrily, "Can you not disgust me?" "I'm not disgust you. I'm scared to begin with. Look, they've already vacated the place. They must be planning to fight with us. Do you think we'll die?" Yu Huang said, feeling wronged. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. He really began to wonder if Yu Huang was interested in him. He couldn't think about it anymore, because when he thought about it, he couldn't help but feel a chill. What a weirdo. Willow Tree shook his head speechlessly. However, as he slowly got along with them, he realized that these people and beasts were quite cute. When everyone was together, there was no sense of restraint. They were free. They could say whatever they wanted. They could do whatever they wanted. This kind of life was not bad. However, he could only silently envy this kind of life, because he knew that Qin Feiyang couldn't stay in the Black Tortoise world forever. He couldn't leave the Black Tortoise world either. This was also the reason why he was so disgusted with Wang Yuer. If this matter hadn't been exposed, when Qin Feiyang left the Black Tortoise world, he could still live as usual. He would still be an elder of the Nether Palace and respected by tens of thousands of people. Nothing would change. As for the things that happened after meeting Qin Feiyang, he would treat it as if they had never happened. But now, he was already a traitor of the Nether Palace. Once Qin Feiyang left, he would be alone. Chapter 1564. Outside, a battle sword was suspended in front of the Great Elder. It was 3 feet long and 2 fingers wide. It was silver white as if it was cast from mercury. "Revive with this old man." The Great Elder roared. All the people in the city evacuated. The 2nd Elder, the 3rd Elder, the 4th Elder, and the 5th Elder did not hesitate. The power of the false god rolled out and poured into the battle sword. Boom! Clang! The battle sword suddenly shone brightly. The terrifying sharpness could topple mountains and overturn seas. The city below was instantly annihilated. The earth was also trembling and cracking crazily. From afar, it was like the scene of the end of the world. A cold light surged in the Great Elder's eyes as he shouted, "I'll ask you one last time, are you coming out or not?" "Are you coming out or not?" Willow Tree asked. The artifact had been revived. He really had no confidence in the ancient castle. "Don't be nervous," Qin Feiyang said lightly. Stubborn. The Great Elder's eyes were cold. He grabbed the battle sword and rushed toward the ancient castle. At the same time, his divine sense firmly locked onto the ancient castle. Because he had locked onto the ancient castle, he could accurately hit the ancient castle. Clang. In the blink of an eye, the Great Elder's sword slashed on the ancient castle, and dazzling sparks suddenly appeared in the void. However, the next moment, then a shocking scene unfolded. When the battle sword collided with the ancient castle, the Great Elder immediately felt a strong rebound force. Clang! The battle sword was immediately bounced away. The Great Elder also took a few steps back. He was shocked. But the next moment, he seemed to have discovered something and stared at the blade of the battle sword. His eyes widened, and his face was instantly filled with disbelief. There was a gap on the blade. How could this be? When the 2nd Elder and the other 3 saw this scene, they were also in extreme disbelief. Inside the ancient castle, Willow Tree and Yu Huang were also dumbfounded. This ancient castle was going to be awesome. One must know. At this moment, the battle sword was in a state of recovery. The ancient castle had not recovered, but it actually made a gap on the battle sword? Amazing! Willow Tree gave him a thumbs up. Yu Huang smiled sinisterly and said, "Since they can't break through the castle's defenses, then let's just ignore them and continue to hide here." Drag this out? Willow Tree was stunned and immediately retorted, "No. Why not?" Yu Huang was suspicious. Qin Feiyang also said, "That's true." "What do you mean?" Yu Huang was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "We can only stay here for half a year." Yeah. Yu Huang was suddenly enlightened. The Black Tortoise world had the power of demons. He had to leave this place within half a year. Otherwise, he would be assimilated by the demonic energy and form a demonic imprint. Once the devil mark appeared, they would never be able to leave the Black Tortoise world for the rest of their lives. In other words, they had no time to waste here. How can a spatial divine item be so terrifying? Not far away, Wang Yuanshan was also dumbfounded. He vaguely realized that he might have made a big mistake. "Nether Hall, allow me to lend you a hand." But suddenly, a long roar rolled over. A white-haired youth with a monstrous aura streaked across the sky and rushed in front of the Great Elder like lightning. Mu Xingxing. The 5 Great Elders narrowed their eyes. That's right. This white-haired youth was Mu Xingxing, who had saved Mu Tianyang not long ago. It was obvious that he had returned for Qin Feiyang. "What are you doing here?" The Great Elder frowned. "He killed people of my Tianyang Empire and destroyed our stronghold. If we don't take revenge, the heavens will not tolerate it." Mu Xingxing shouted, his voice like a bell, resounding through the night sky. "It's really over this time." Since Mu Xingxing is so confident, he must have brought a divine artifact with him. Willow Tree's face was filled with despair. Yu Huang's eyelids twitched as he hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Boss Qin, can this castle block the 2 divine artifacts together?" Qin Feiyang also hesitated. He had never encountered such a situation before, so he wasn't sure either. "I can tell from your expression that it's over." Yu Huang shrank and looked at Willow Tree. "I didn't expect to die with a villain like you. What a shame." Willow Tree was about to get angry, but Yu Huang shook his head and sighed. "Fine, since I'm going to die soon, let's forget about the grudge between us." Willow Tree paused and said angrily, "Can we not talk nonsense now? In any case, we are both false gods. If we fight, we might be able to find a way to survive." Fight. 2 god artifacts, 6 semi-divinities and Wang Yuanshan. Do you really think that the 2 of us will stand a chance against them? Yu Huang snorted coldly. Willow Tree went silent and gritted his teeth. "I don't want to die. No matter what, I have to try." Clang. At this time, Mu Xingxing also took out a 3-foot-long sword, which was glowing with a cold light. Cyan Rainbow Sword. Willow Tree's eyes darkened. "Come on. Let's work together to break that spatial divine artifact." Mu Xingxing held the Cyan Rainbow Sword and looked at First Elder. "Okay." First Elder nodded. The 2 swords soared into the sky at the same time. The quasi-divinity energy of the 6 quasi-divinity cultivators gushed into Yang Kai's body. A gust of wind suddenly blew in this world. The sharpness tore the sky and split the earth. Kill. Mu Xingxing and First Elder roared at the same time. And the 2 swords slashed the void and directly hit the ancient castle. Clang. Clang. The loud sound was deafening. In the void, flames burst out, dazzling like fireworks. However, even the 2 divine artifacts couldn't break the ancient castle. On the contrary, the ancient castle once again bounced the 2 divine artifacts away. A crack appeared on the blade of the Cyan Rainbow Sword. The crack on the Great Elder's sword also became larger. This scene made Mu Xingxing, the 5 elders, and Wang Yuanshan, who was not far away, tremble. They couldn't say a word for a long time. 2 swords. And 2 revived swords couldn't do anything to a spatial divine artifact. What level was the spatial divine artifact in Qin Feiyang's hands? It was too ridiculous. "Awesome!" Willow Tree exclaimed. "What's this?" "When we fought with the Guardians of the Miracle, this ancient castle also used the power of law." Yu Huang said proudly. However, his eyes were full of shock. Qin Feiyang, who had been silent all this time, suddenly had a flash of light in his eyes. He said disdainfully, "Do you think this kind of battle array can scare me? Naive." Naive? Willow Tree and Yu Huang were stunned. "Later, do as I say, and I promise you will be fine. Maybe you can even kill them and seize the 2 swords in their hands." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Really?" The man and the beast were surprised. Qin Feiyang nodded. "If you really seize the 2 swords, can you give them to us? After all, we have done a lot for you." The man and the beast looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. The man and the beast suddenly became excited and asked, "Tell us, we will listen to you." Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "They have divine artifacts, so do we." Divine artifacts? Are you talking about this emperor's divine weapon? No, my divine artifacts can't compete with theirs," Yu Huang hurriedly said. "Your divine artifacts certainly can't, but Chang Shui can." Willow Tree. Qin Feiyang looked at Willow Tree. "Here." Willow Tree looked at him. Qin Feiyang took out Chang Shui, erased the blood contract inside, and said, "I will give you Chang Shui first. Don't let me down." Willow Tree glanced at Chang Shui and asked suspiciously, "Can it do?" "Absolutely no problem." Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. "Boy, you are in luck. This Chang Shui is the boss's treasure. Many people can't even touch it." Fatso pouted. Willow Tree immediately took Chang Shui, dripped blood on it, and then bowed. "Thank you for your trust, young master." Qin Feiyang smiled, waved his hand, and left the castle with Willow Tree and Yu Huang. Finally out. Looking at the 2 people and 1 beast, the first elder smiled coldly. Mu Xingxing looked at Qin Feiyang proudly, and said, "Before you relied on the artifact, you were tyrannical and killed my people. Now it is my turn to teach you a lesson. If you know what's good for you, kneel there and let me capture you, or what?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Or what?" Mu Xingxing sneered arrogantly. "I will make you wish you were dead," he said in a sonorous voice. "I will make you beg for death." Qin Feiyang just smiled. Qin Feiyang. At this time, Wang Yuanshan's voice sounded. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, turned to look at Wang Yuanshan and said lightly, "What's the matter?" Wang Yuanshan said, "You are no match for them, give up." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Isn't this thanks to you?" "Thanks to Wang Yuanshan? What do you mean?" Mu Xingxing and the 5 elders were suspicious. At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Wang Yuanshan's heart trembled. Had he found out? Qin Feiyang shook his head and said disappointedly, "Wang Yuer trusted you. So she told you everything about the willow tree. But what about you? What did you do? Don't tell me you didn't do it." So that's how it is. The 5 elders of the Nether Hall suddenly understood. They were wondering why Wang Yuanshan didn't help Qin Feiyang. It turned out that it was Wang Yuanshan who leaked the news. Humph. So what if it was me? Wang Yuanshan snorted and said, "How dare you bully my descendant? Even if you are the descendant of the Qin Emperor, I won't let you off easily. You will regret it." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed red. In the distance, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Wang Yuer's body trembled, and her face turned pale. She knew Qin Feiyang too well. If others didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If he was offended, it would be useless even if the Heavenly Emperor came down. "Grandfather, how long are you going to be wrong? Do you know that you are angering a terrifying killer?" she cried in her heart. But Wang Yuanshan didn't think so. Regret? In Wang Yuanshan's dictionary, there had never been such a word. "Cut the crap. I'll give you a chance now." "No, this opportunity is given to you out of charity." Wang Yuanshan looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered. "Charity?" Chapter 1565. Apologize to you immediately. Swear in front of everyone that you'll listen to you, or join the main pagoda. As long as you agree, I'll immediately help you. With me around, the Nether Hall and the Heavenly Sun Empire won't dare to do anything to you, Wang Yuanshan said proudly. Hearing Wang Yuanshan's words, Qin Feiyang didn't take it to heart at all. However, Mu Xingkong and the 5 elders of the Nether Hall were extremely annoyed. Isn't it just because you have the Vanga League behind you? Why are you so arrogant? After leaving the Vanga League, your main pagoda and Wang Yuanshan are nothing. Wang Yuanshan looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang smiled but didn't say anything. As long as you're willing to lower your head, you, the willow tree, and the spirit snake can all live. However, if you're stubborn, then I can only collect your corpses. Actually, it's not difficult to lower your head. What's there to hesitate about? Would you rather give up your life to protect your pitiful self-esteem? There's no need. It's good to be alive. If you're dead, it's useless no matter how talented you are or how terrifying your identity is. Wang Yuanshan joked. Interesting. I thought you were just protecting your family, but now I know that you're not protecting them at all. Do you know what it's called? It's called a hypocritical villain. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Wang Yuer said, "Feiyang, my grandfather didn't do it on purpose. Please forgive him." Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Wang Yu, or through the layers of void. Wang Yuer's face was covered in tears, and she was extremely anxious. Qin Feiyang said, "This is between me and your grandfather, so please don't interfere and don't hate me." Wang Yuer's eyes trembled. The meaning of these words was very obvious. Qin Feiyang already wanted to kill her grandfather. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Wang Yuanshan. "You can break your head and bleed, but you can't lose your dignity. Just stand there and watch how I kill them with your eyes wide open." After saying that, he suddenly shouted, "Willow Tree, Yu Huang, do it!" Willow Tree immediately revived Chang Shui. Yu Huang also jumped onto Willow Tree's shoulder and poured his false god power into Chang Shui. With the two false gods working together, Chang Shui instantly entered a state of recovery. Kill them? This old man really wants to see how you three ants are going to kill them. Wang Yuanshan smiled contemptuously and quickly retreated into the distance. Seeing that Wang Yuanshan had retreated, Mu Xingkong and the 5 elders of the Nether Pavilion immediately took action and revived the 2 swords. For a moment, in this world, the wind howled and the terrifying sharpness covered the sky. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and entered the ancient castle. He stood in the middle of the ancient castle and looked at the scene in front of him. He's actually hiding again. Mu Xingkong raised his eyebrows. Don't worry, after we kill the traitor Willow Tree and the ghost snake, he will naturally come out and beg for mercy in despair. The great elder laughed sinisterly. That's true. The corner of Mu Xingkong's mouth raised. He grabbed the azure rainbow sword and charged towards Willow Tree and Yu Huang. The great elder also controlled the other sword and charged towards the man and beast from the other side. Can this Chang Shui really work? Seeing this, Willow Tree couldn't help but feel guilty and sent a sound transmission to Yu Huang. Won't you know once you try? Yu Huang laughed secretly. Willow Tree took a deep breath. In the blink of an eye. At this moment, Chang Shui no longer looked like an ornamental piece of art. It shone brightly and was extremely dazzling. A destructive aura shrouded in all directions. Go! Yu Huang shouted. Willow Tree's eyes flashed fiercely. He grabbed Chang Shui and rushed towards the azure rainbow sword. No! You will directly destroy the azure rainbow sword. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang hurriedly sent a message to Willow Tree. Destroy the azure rainbow sword? How is this possible? Willow Tree didn't believe it. No matter what, the azure rainbow sword was still a divine artifact. How could it be destroyed so easily? He raised Chang Shui and faced the azure rainbow sword. With a clang accompanied by sparks, the azure rainbow sword broke in an instant. Willow Tree was stunned. He actually destroyed the azure rainbow sword? How is this possible? On the opposite side, Mu Xingkong, the 5 elders of the Nether Hall, and Wang Yuanshan were all petrified when they saw this scene. Unbelievable. How could a divine artifact be broken so easily? This must be a joke. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? What a pity, what a pity. This is a divine artifact. If I had known, I would have listened to the young master. After Willow Tree came back to his senses, he couldn't help but bleed. However, after seeing the power of Chang Shui, Willow Tree's confidence returned, and he was in high spirits. He suddenly turned around and stared at the 5 elders of the Nether Pavilion as he laughed coldly. I've been unable to bear the sight of all of you old bastards since a long time ago. You rely on your seniority to flaunt your strength before me all the time. I've really spoiled all of you." The 5 elders' faces were as dark as water. Although Willow Tree was also an elder of the Nether Hall, and was as famous as them, their seniority was indeed higher than Willow Tree's. Therefore, they had always had a premonition when facing Willow Tree. At this moment, seeing Willow Tree insulting them in public, they were naturally unhappy. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? I'm not only going to scold you today, but I'm also going to beat you up. I'll let you know that I'm not to be trifled with," Lumu roared. He turned around and grabbed Pale Snow. Then he faced the battle sword. The 5 elders' expressions changed. The Grand Elder hurriedly withdrew his battle sword. They didn't want this divine artifact to follow in the footsteps of the Rainbow Sword. "Trash! You don't even have the courage to face me head-on. I really don't understand. What right do you have to point fingers at me in the past?" Lumu smiled proudly and charged towards the Great Elder like a bolt of lightning. "He has a heaven-defying divine artifact. We're no match for him. Retreat." The Grand Elder shouted, and was about to reach out to grab the battle sword. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang appeared in front of him out of thin air. The Grand Elder was shocked and instinctively slapped toward Qin Feiyang. However, Qin Feiyang's target was not him at all. Qin Feiyang grabbed the battle sword and disappeared without a trace in an instant. How could this be? The Grand Elder was immediately stunned. The moment the battle sword and Qin Feiyang disappeared, he immediately felt that he had lost contact with the battle sword. What kind of divine artifact did Qin Feiyang use that it could cut off the blood contract between him and the divine artifact? "Be careful, Grand Elder." Suddenly, the 2nd Elder, the 3rd Elder, the 4th Elder, and the 5th Elder shouted and rushed toward the Grand Elder at the same time. The Grand Elder quivered and came back to his senses. He saw that Willow Tree and Yu Huang had already arrived. "Get out of my way!" Beaming, Yu Huang soared into the air, instantly transforming into her true form. Her gigantic tail that resembled a mountain range slammed towards the 4 elders. Willow Tree grabbed Chang Shui and charged toward the Grand Elder. Boom! Although Yu Huang's strength was not simple, his opponents were 4 false gods after all. The 4 elders attacked at the same time and collided with the giant tail. Yu Huang was immediately sent flying. His giant tail was smashed and blood and flesh splattered all over the sky, dyeing the sky red. However, at the same time, the Grand Elder was fatally injured. Although he came back to his senses after being reminded by the 4 elders, Willow Tree was already very close to him. It should be noted that Willow Tree was not weak either. At such a close distance, the Grand Elder could not retreat at all. He could only hastily counterattack. The result was as expected. Willow Tree used Chang Shui to directly cut off one of the Grand Elder's arms and slapped the Grand Elder's lower abdomen. With a crack, the Grand Elder's lower abdomen caved in on the spot. His flesh was badly mangled and his energy reserve was also shattered. His entire body was sent flying like a dead dog. "Big brother." The 4 elders hurriedly went up and caught the Grand Elder. Willow Tree also turned to look at Yu Huang and asked, "Are you all right?" "Don't worry. This emperor's life is very tough. Hurry up and kill them." Yu Huang cackled. "No problem." Willow Tree glanced at Chang Shui, licked his lips, and stared at the 5 elders of the Nether Pavilion with a murderous look in his eyes. Whoosh! In the next moment, he used an assist-type divine art and charged toward the 5 of them aggressively. "Willow Tree, how long are you going to help the evildoers? Do you want to bear the name of a traitor for the rest of your life? It's not too late to turn back now." The 2nd Elder and the others shouted angrily. His previous arrogance and insufferably arrogance had completely vanished, leaving behind only fear and shame. The 5 of them had come together with a god artifact, but Zhang Xian was able to turn the tables around with just a single dagger. Willow Tree alone was enough to make them lose their courage and feel helpless. If news of this spread, wouldn't the world laugh at them? Turn back? There's no need. As long as I follow the young master, I, Willow Tree, won't be afraid even if the Tower Master comes personally, let alone you old fogies. Willow Tree sneered. At the same time, Mu Xingkong looked at the unstoppable willow tree with fear in his eyes. But more than that, he was angry. Divine artifacts were very rare in the Black Tortoise world. Even his Heavenly Sun Empire only had a few. Once he lost a divine artifact, his Heavenly Sun Empire's strength would plummet. Most importantly, his pride couldn't bear this kind of humiliation. Whether it was in the outside world or now, he was a monstrous genius that everyone worshipped and looked up to. But now he was defeated by ants like Qin Feiyang? However, Chang Shue's terror made him lose his temper and despair. Seeing that willow tree and Yu Huang didn't pay attention to him, he opened a portal and fled. Hey, do you really think I didn't pay attention to you? But at the same time, Yu Huang grinned. Her gigantic body was like a meteor, directly smashing towards the teleportation gate. Damn it! Mu Xingkong was furious and raised his hand to slap Yu Huang. Do you think I don't exist? However, at this time, Qin Feiyang's voice suddenly sounded behind him. Qin Feiyang suddenly appeared out of thin air. Mu Xingkong's body and mind tightened, and without hesitation, he threw a punch. He was confident. This punch could directly kill Qin Feiyang. But in the end his punch hit the air. Because Qin Feiyang entered the castle again. At this moment, Yu Huang also came down. Mu Xingkong hurriedly attacked Yu Huang. But Qin Feiyang appeared behind him again. Furthermore, it was completely silent. Chapter 1566. Clang. Mu Xingkong felt dizzy. Although he had the body of a false god, the castle was a supreme artifact. His skull cracked open on the spot. Blood gushed out. The excruciating pain made him howl in pain. This is my chance. Yu Huang's eyes flashed with a cold light. His body quickly shrank and shot into Mu Xingkong's lower abdomen like an arrow. Ah! There was another wail, and a bloody hole appeared on Mu Xingkong's lower abdomen, penetrating from the front to the back. Gasp! Seeing this, Wang Yuanshan sucked in a breath of cold air from afar. A peerless genius was crippled by Qin Feiyang, and Yu Huang just like that? Even a false god like him couldn't compare to such means. On the other side, Willow Tree was unstoppable with the Chang Shui in his hand. Like the first elder, the third elder's cultivation had been crippled. The second elder, the fourth elder, and the fifth elder still had their cultivation, but they were in a sorry state. When they saw that Mu Xingkong's cultivation was also crippled by Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang, they were even more terrified. Run! The second elder shouted. The fourth elder and the fifth elder immediately picked up the first elder and the third elder and ran for their lives. Run! Did you ask for my permission? Willow Tree sneered and chased after them. The second elder stepped in front of Willow Tree and shouted without looking back. Don't worry about him. Run, I'll stop him. You? Can you stop the Chang Shui in my hand? Willow Tree sneered and raised the Chang Shui to attack the second elder. Clang! The Chang Shui buzzed and trembled. It was as if there was an ancient demonic beast sealed inside, releasing a terrifying aura. The second elder's pupils contracted, and he stared at the Chang Shui. This dagger was the incarnation of the devil. It was too terrifying and made people despair. He couldn't figure it out. How could there be such a terrifying divine artifact in this world? How could such a divine artifact fall into the hands of a mere Qin Feiyang? Die, you old bastard! Willow Tree's long hair danced madly in the wind, making him look like a demon god. The resentment and humiliation he had accumulated in the Nether Pavilion over the years were completely released at this moment. Seeing Chang Shui showing off his abilities, the second elder couldn't help but feel his vision go dark, as if he had lost all light. Could he really defeat this dagger? He suspected more than once. In his heart he did not have the slightest bit of courage to fight. He was drowned in despair and panic. Second elder. The fourth elder and the fifth elder shouted anxiously when they saw this. The second elder quivered, and immediately woke up from the abyss of despair. He roared, "Go, don't look back. I will definitely stop him. Remember, avenge me." Willow Tree was shocked. Qin Feiyang, Yu Huang, and Wang Yuanshan also looked at the second elder in surprise. Boom. The next moment, a destructive aura rushed out of the second elder's body. He's going to self-destruct his body. Retreat. Wang Yuanshan's eyes widened and he suddenly roared. He took Wang Yuer and the people of the main tower, and flew away without looking back. What? Self-destruct his body. He's a false god. If he self-destructs his body, do you think we can survive? The expressions of the other people who were watching the battle from afar immediately changed. They all fled in fear, not holding back at all. Second elder. The fourth elder and the fifth elder roared angrily again. Quick! The second elder roared. The fourth elder gritted his teeth and looked at Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree, and Yu Huang. He roared. I swear that if I don't kill you, I'm not human. Then. He turned to look at the fifth elder and shouted, Let's go! The fifth elder nodded, also filled with grief and anger. Then. The two of them each carried one person and turned around to escape. Damn it! Willow Tree roared angrily and did not chase after them. He quickly rushed to meet up with Qin Feiyang. The power of a false god's self-destruction was not ordinary terrifying. Even if he was a false god, he would be obliterated on the spot. Quick! At the same time, Qin Feiyang also grabbed Yu Huang and anxiously shouted at him. In the face of a false god's self-destruction, how could Yu Huang dare to be negligent? He immediately took Qin Feiyang and rushed toward Willow Tree. Go to hell with me. The second elder looked at Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang. His old eyes flashed with incomparable madness. With a sinister laugh, his physical body was shattered into pieces. A wave of destructive air suddenly emerged like a torrent, with this place as the center, rolling in all directions. Willow Tree's face changed. He exerted all of his strength. But the air wave was getting closer and closer. A fatal crisis shrouded his heart. But just as Willow Tree was about to be swallowed by the air wave, Qin Feiyang finally arrived. He waved his hand and immediately disappeared without a trace with Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and Mu Xingxing. Boom. Crack. The air wave rolled in all directions. Looking from afar, the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was like an apocalypse. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Magma erupted. The wind roared between the sky and the earth, destroying everything. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang and the others looked at this scene with fear on their faces. Although Qin Feiyang had seen the scene of a false god's self-destruction in the endless ocean, he could not help but feel frightened when he saw it again. That was close. Willow Tree was covered in cold sweat. If Qin Feiyang was one step later, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chang Shui, here you are. Taking a deep breath, Willow Tree reluctantly erased the blood contract in Chang Shui, and then handed it to Qin Feiyang. This dagger was the most powerful divine artifact he had ever seen in his life. But unfortunately it was not his dagger. It was a pity. Qin Feiyang glanced at Willow Tree, took the Chang Shui, and said with a smile, You passed my test. Ha! Willow Tree was stunned and asked, What do you mean? I gave you pale snow. On one hand, it was to kill the enemy. On the other hand, it was to test you. If you dare to do anything bad, I will kill you without hesitation. But you didn't, so I want to congratulate you. Qin Feiyang smiled. Willow Tree suddenly understood. Qin Feiyang smiled and dripped blood on Chang Shui again. Then he reached out his hand and said with a smile, Now on behalf of everyone, I formally welcome you to this big family. Fatso and the others also opened their eyes and looked at Willow Tree with smiles. Willow Tree looked at them one by one and finally fixed his eyes on Qin Feiyang. He said with a wry smile, You are really willing to use Chang Shui to test me. Speaking of this, Willow Tree frowned and said again, Aren't you afraid that I will really betray you? At that time, I had already dripped blood on Chang Shui. Even if you erase my soul, Chang Shui will not come back to you. Chang Shui will always be mine. This will not change even if you drip blood on it. Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. Really? Willow Tree was surprised. To be honest, I don't know where Chang Shui came from. But somehow, I have a feeling that it is a part of my life. I can't leave it, and it can't leave me. Qin Feiyang rubbed pale snow. His actions were very gentle, and his gaze was also very gentle. It was as if he was supporting his own child. So mysterious? Willow Tree was stunned. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and put away Chang Shui. He looked at Willow Tree and said with a smile, What? Don't you want to join us? Yes, yes. Willow Tree nodded repeatedly, but his expression was extremely gloomy. He said, but we will be separated in the end. Because of the devil mark? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. Willow Tree nodded and sighed. If the devil mark is not removed, I will never be able to leave the Black Tortoise realm. Qin Feiyang said, let me see your devil mark. Willow Tree tore open his clothes. On his chest, a blood-red ghost face entered everyone's sight. The ghost face was the size of a palm and looked like a skull, giving off a gloomy feeling. Qin Feiyang looked at it for a moment and frowned. Have you tried to erase this mark? Of course. Not only me, everyone in the Black Tortoise realm has tried. Some people cut off the skin here. Some people used a soldering iron to destroy the mark. But not long after, the devil mark will appear again. Rumor has it that there is only one way to truly erase the devil mark, and that is to destroy the Black Tortoise realm and break the rules here. But who can destroy such a big little world? Willow Tree sighed. Destroy the Black Tortoise realm and break the rules, Qin Feiyang murmured. From the looks of it, this was indeed something that could not be done. But he always believed that nothing was absolute. Don't be discouraged. There is always a way. I believe that there will always be a way. Qin Feiyang patted Willow Tree's shoulder and comforted him, then looked up at the scene in front of him. In the scene, the wind was whistling nonstop. Destructive fluctuations enveloped a radius of tens of thousands of miles. For a while, they would definitely not be able to get out. He pondered for a while and turned to look at Mu Xingkong. Mu Xingkong was lying on the side. The bloody hole in his lower abdomen was still bleeding, and his face was full of weakness. At this moment, he was looking at the ancient castle, as well as Fatso and the others. Sensing Qin Feiyang's gaze, he also raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. The moment their eyes met, invisible sparks seemed to burst out in the void. Qin Feiyang said, looking at Mu Tianyang's attitude towards you, your relationship in the past should not be simple. Of course. The Emperor and I are not only master and disciple, but also friends. If you dare to hurt the Emperor, I will never let you go. Mu Xingkong slowly got up and smiled sinisterly. Who allowed you to stand up? Kneel down. Willow Tree swept behind Mu Xingkong and kicked him in the calf. With a plop, Mu Xingkong immediately knelt in front of Qin Feiyang. You're courting death. Mu Xingkong suddenly turned his head and stared at Willow Tree. Oh. Willow Tree screamed and said, you still dare to be stubborn? Believe it or not, I will let you die without a complete corpse now. Mu Xingkong's face was full of disdain. If you have the guts, ask Qin Feiyang to let me go. Let's fight one-on-one. One-on-one. Not interested. But I am very interested in beating a peerless genius like you. Willow Tree raised the corner of his mouth, raised his hand and slapped Mu Xingkong's face hard. Puff. Chapter 1567. They are both master and disciple and friends, Qin Feiyang murmured. It seemed that Mu Xingkong was indeed a genius. Otherwise, the ruthless and arrogant Mu Tianyang would not think so highly of him. Since Mu Tianyang thought so highly of him, this person should have some value. As for Mu Xingkong, after being slapped in the face by Willow Tree in public, he exploded in an instant. He did not know where the strength came from, but he bounced up in an instant and pounced fiercely at Willow Tree. Willow Tree was extremely disdainful. A person who had his cultivation crippled actually dared to be so rash? He really did not die. Bang. He kicked again. And it hit Mu Xingkong's lifeline. Crack. Mu Xingkong flew out and crashed into the wall behind him. He immediately covered his crotch and howled miserably. His whole face was green and red, and even deformed. Obviously. Lu Mu's kick shattered his eggs and killed his bird. Willow Tree stepped forward, pinched Mu Xingkong's chin and joked, Genius, how does it feel to have your balls crushed? I swear, I will tear you apart. Mu Xingkong roared. Willow Tree's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Young lord, I think it's better to kill such a dangerous person to avoid future trouble. Mu Xingkong's body trembled, and a trace of fear crept up in his eyes. No matter who it was, they were all afraid of death. And a monster like Mu Xingkong cherished his life even more. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled. His status in the Tiandi Empire is definitely not ordinary. Keep him alive for now, he may be of great use. Mu Xingkong heard this and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he was alive, there was still a chance. As for Willow Tree, he did not say anything more. Suddenly, Yu Huang rolled his eyes and looked at Mu Xingkong asking, "Where is the treasury of the Tiandi Empire? Don't tell me you don't know." The treasury. Hearing Yu Huang's words, Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Mu Xingxing's status was so high that he definitely knew the location of the treasure trove. As long as they could force the information out of him, it would be of great help in looting the treasury. Mu Xingxing was also stunned. He never thought that Yu Huang would suddenly ask such a question. He glanced at Yu Huang, then shifted his gaze to Qin Feiyang and sneered. "You've got guts, still coveting my Heavenly Sun Empire's treasury." Yu Huang said playfully, "You're right about one thing. Our courage is really not small." Mu Xingxing's eyes flashed with hostility as he said, "The treasury is in the imperial capital of the Heavenly Sun Empire. Go if you have the ability." "Do I need you to tell me that? We also know that the treasury is in the imperial capital. What we want is the exact location," Yu Huang said angrily. "Don't even think about it." Mu Xingxing sneered. "Let's see if you won't cry until you're in the coffin." Yu Huang smiled ferociously and immediately rushed up to beat him up. But no matter what methods Yu Huang used, Mu Xingxing refused to speak. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, turned to Willow Tree, and said, "You don't know where their treasury is? How can an outsider like me know such an important place?" Willow Tree was helpless. "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Yu Huang and said, "No matter what, we have to force him to speak." "Leave it to me." Yu Huang laughed. "Qin Feiyang, I swear that you will die a very, very miserable death. Not only you, the great Qin Empire left behind by your ancestor Qin Batian will be destroyed by my Heavenly Sun Empire sooner or later." Mu Xingxing roared with resentment. "Destroyed? Humph. Back then, my ancestor could destroy your Heavenly Sun Empire. Now I, Qin Feiyang, can also destroy you remnants here." Qin Feiyang snorted, murderous intent surging in his eyes. "With just you? What a joke, what a joke. You'll never understand how powerful the Heavenly Sun Empire is. You're digging your own grave." "Huh?" Mu Xingxing laughed wildly. Even though Yu Huang was torturing him by any means, it still couldn't stop him from mocking Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was too lazy to argue and glanced at the altar. There was a battle sword on the altar. There was a grain-sized opening on the blade. It was the battle sword that Qin Feiyang had snatched from the Nether Hall's Grand Elder. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the battle sword fell into his hand, letting out an ear-piercing sound. This battle sword is called the Seven-Star Sword. It's said that after fully recovering, it can summon the Big Dipper and use the power of the stars to fight. Although it's not as good as Chang Shui and the ancient castle, it's still considered an extremely powerful divine artifact in the Black Tortoise world. It's a pity that there's an opening now. And to repair a divine artifact, apart from those master blacksmiths, ordinary people can't do it at all. Willow Tree felt regretful. The Seven-Star Sword came from the Nether Hall. As an elder of the Nether Hall, Willow Tree naturally knew it well. As long as it's not broken, it won't be affected. "Here," Qin Feiyang said and directly threw the Seven-Star Sword to Willow Tree. Willow Tree's face was dull. He actually gave the Seven-Star Sword to him? Was this a dream? One had to know. This wasn't an ordinary weapon, but a divine artifact. Did the young master not care at all? But Yu Huang was anxious when he saw this situation. He hurriedly left Mu Xingkong and ran to Qin Feiyang, saying angrily, "You're not fair, I did the most work before, why should I give it to him?" Qin Feiyang said speechlessly, "Don't you already have a divine artifact? Why are you still fighting for it? This matter can't be generalized, it has to be separated. As a person you can't favor one over another," Yu Huang said discontentedly. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, "I've already given it out, it's impossible for me to take it back. Let's wait for next time." The next time I get a divine artifact, I'll give it to you. Yu Huang still wanted to say something. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, don't you want the potential pill and the spirit congealing pill? Yu Huang's body stiffened and he said, okay, I'll listen to you. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. But Mu Xingkong suffered. Yu Huang's belly full of anger was vented onto him. You're really giving it to me? Willow Tree looked at the 7-star sword and still found it hard to imagine. Isn't this in your hands? You don't want it. Come on, give it back to me. Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand. Of course I want it. Willow Tree quickly hid the 7-star sword behind him and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, quickly erase the blood contract. Okay. Willow Tree nodded and merged his divine sense into the 7-star sword, forcibly erasing the Great Elder's blood contract. At the same time, deep in the mountains, in the main hall of an ancient castle, the Great Elder and the 3rd Elder were sitting cross-legged, repairing their qi. The 4th Elder and the 5th Elder sat at the side with gloomy expressions on their faces. Puff! Suddenly, the Great Elder's body trembled violently, and he spat out a mouthful of old blood. The 3rd Elder opened his eyes and looked at him in shock. The 4th Elder and the 5th Elder immediately got up and ran to the Great Elder. They asked with concern, what's wrong? Are your injuries too serious? No. The blood contract in the 7-star sword has been erased. The Great Elder said in a deep voice. What? They heard it. The 3 of them were shocked. Damn Qin Feiyang, damn Willow Tree, I won't let you go. The 3rd Elder roared. This time, they had sent out 5 false gods, but not only did they fail to capture Willow Tree, but they also lost a divine artifact and a false god. It was simply a calamity to the Nether Pavilion. How should we explain this to the 2 palace lords? The 4th Elder sighed. The Great Elder, the 3rd Elder, and the 5th Elder also fell silent. With such a huge loss, the 2 hall masters would definitely not let them off easily. Swish. Suddenly, a black figure descended into the main hall out of thin air. He was 7 feet tall and had a thin figure. He wore a black mask that covered half of his face. However, it was not hard to tell that this person was a middle-aged man from his figure, and the other half of his face. Those dark eyes were filled with a majesty that made people feel fear in their hearts. The Great Elder and the others' expressions changed when they saw this person. They quickly knelt on one knee and bowed. Greetings, Vice Palace Lord. The masked man did not say anything. He walked to the chair at the front and sat on it. He looked down at the 4 of them with eyes as sharp as an eagle's. The 4 of them lowered their heads and did not even dare to breathe loudly. The atmosphere in the hall became extremely heavy. The 4 of them exchanged glances. The Great Elder gritted his teeth and mustered his courage. He looked up at the Vice Palace Lord and said, My lord, please listen to our explanation. Slap. It would have been better if he did not speak. As soon as he spoke, the Vice Palace Lord stood up, landed in front of him, and slapped his old face. The Great Elder was sent flying on the spot. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. However, he did not dare to complain. He got up in a sorry state and quickly knelt in his original position. The Vice Palace Lord returned to the chair above. This time, the 4 Great Elders did not dare to speak anymore. They were extremely hesitant. After some time, the Vice Palace Lord finally spoke. He looked at the 4 of them and said, I already know everything that happened in Peach Blossom City. You don't need to explain. My lord, please forgive us. The 4 of them trembled and hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged. This time, you've completely disgraced our Nether Hall. However, it has already happened. It's meaningless for me to blame you. I'll give you another chance to make up for your mistakes. The Vice Palace Lord said. Thank you, my lord. The 4 of them were overjoyed. After you recover, no matter what method you use, you must bring the 7-star sword and the willow tree back to me. As for Qin Feiyang, capture him alive if you can. Kill him if you can't. However, we must obtain the dagger in his hand, and the spatial divine item on him. The Vice Palace Lord said, his eyes filled with greed. Yes. The 4 of them replied respectfully. The Vice Palace Lord said, Don't fail again. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Understood. The four of them hurriedly nodded. Whoosh. The vice palace lord glanced at the four of them and instantly disappeared. Only then did the four of them stand up and let out a long breath. First elder, what should we do? The dagger in Qin Feiyang's hand can easily destroy the Heavenly Sun Empire's azure rainbow sword. It's impossible for us to kill him. The third elder said as he looked at the first elder. The fourth elder and the fifth elder were also deeply worried. This matter hasn't reached the point where it can't be solved. Although Qin Feiyang is powerful, it's not just our nether hall in the Black Tortoise world. There are others who want to kill him. The first elder sneered. You mean the people from the Heavenly Sun Empire? The third elder said. That's right. The Heavenly Sun Empire and the Great Qin Empire have a blood feud. Now that Mu Xingkong is in the hands of Qin Feiyang and his fate is unknown, the people from the Heavenly Sun Empire won't let this matter go. We just need to watch the tigers fight from afar. Moreover, I believe the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace won't just stand by and watch. The first elder smiled, but his smile was a little scary. Good idea. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Chapter 1568. Peach Blossom City. Everything within a radius of tens of thousands of miles had been razed to the ground. The people gathered in the distance looked at the dust and smoke surging in the void, their faces full of fear. Wang Yuanshan's heart could not calm down. He actually forced the second elder of the Nether Hall to self-destruct? This method really made people tremble with fear. Many people were now using the image crystal to spread the news. Let go of me, let go of me. Among them, a furious roar could be heard. Wang Yuanshan turned his head and saw Wang Yuer being grabbed by the two burly men, struggling with all her might. Wang Yuanshan frowned and waved his hand. Let go of her. Yes. The two men responded respectfully and let go of Wang Yuer. Qin Feiyang, you can't die. Wang Yuer immediately ran toward the dust and smoke area, tears streaming down her face. What are you doing? Wang Yuanshan was shocked. He hurriedly reached out and grabbed Wang Yuer, saying angrily. Wang Yuer said, I want to see if Qin Feiyang is dead. Let go. If it was an ordinary person who self-destructed, she would not be worried because the ancient castle was protecting Qin Feiyang. But the one who self-destructed was a false god. How terrifying was the self-destruction of a false god? Could the ancient castle withstand it? Wang Yuanshan said angrily. I forbid you from going. You're courting death. I'm willing to die. Let go. Wang Yuer roared. Smack. The furious Wang Yuanshan slapped Wang Yuer's cheek. You actually hit me? Even father, mother, and grandfather didn't hit you. You actually hit me? Wang Yuer looked at Wang Yuanshan in disbelief. I hit you to calm you down. Do you know how terrifying the self-destruction of a false god is? If you barge in now, let me tell you, even the gods won't be able to save you. Wang Yuanshan shouted. I don't care. I want to go in. If I really die inside, it's all your fault. If you hadn't leaked the secret, this wouldn't have happened at all. Wang Yuer held her cheek, her eyes filled with hatred. Wang Yuanshan fell silent. His original intention was not to force Qin Feiyang to his death. Instead, he wanted to use the Nether Pavilion to force Qin Feiyang to compromise and apologize to Wang Yuer. However, he did not expect that the development of the situation would far exceed his expectations. However, as a false god, it was impossible for him to put down his pride and apologize to a descendant. Emph. Wang Yuanshan snorted and said, Actually, you should know in your heart that Qin Feiyang doesn't like you. Wang Yuer's delicate body trembled, and her face turned pale. When I first met him, I could already tell that he didn't have any feelings for you. It was just your own wishful thinking. Wang Yuer added. Stop talking. Please don't say any more. Wang Yuer hugged her head, shaking her head and roaring in pain. Child, accept reality. When both parties work together, that's what true feelings are. You won't get anything in return for liking someone one-sidedly. Besides, there are plenty of young people who are more outstanding than him in this world. Why do you want to hang yourself on him? Wang Yuanshan persuaded. I won't listen, I won't listen. Wang Yuer squatted in the void, covering her ears like a helpless child, looking particularly miserable. Sigh. Wang Yuanshan sighed deeply. How could the Wang family have such a foolish descendant? Looking at Wang Yuer's painful appearance, he hated Qin Feiyang even more. Wang Yuanshan squatted down and hugged Wang Yuer, saying, I'm sorry, it was grandfather's fault just now. I shouldn't have hit you. Grandfather apologizes to you. Grandfather, what should I do? I know that he doesn't like me, but I just can't control myself. There's only room for him in my heart. I can't live without him. Wang Yuer burst into tears with a wail. Silly child. Wang Yuanshan's heart ached and he asked, Do you really want to go and take a look? Wang Yuer nodded. All right. Grandfather will bring you in, but if he's already dead, I hope that you can slowly forget him. Wang Yuanshan said. When Wang Yuer heard this, her face turned pale again. Seeing this, Wang Yuanshan's heart ached. He smiled and said, Get up. Wang Yuer got up obediently. Wang Yuanshan waved his hand, and a divine power barrier appeared, carefully protecting Wang Yuer. Then he took Wang Yuer to the dusty area. The wind was blowing. Destructive waves of air continued to surge. If not for Wang Yuanshan's protection, Wang Yuer would have been torn apart by the storm as soon as she entered. But at this moment, Wang Yuer turned a blind eye to all of this. She grabbed the corner of her clothes tightly, and her hands had turned white. She was extremely nervous and apprehensive. She was afraid that she would never see that man again. She was more worried that if that man didn't die, when he saw her, would he hate her even more? Because in the end, all of this was caused by her. If she hadn't told grandfather about the willow tree, even if grandfather wanted to harm her, he wouldn't have found a chance. It could be said that, from birth until now, her heart had never been as uneasy as at this moment. Soon, she stood in the center of the explosion. There was a pit here, very deep and very big. Looking down from the sky, it was like a dried-up sea. But here, she didn't see anything. However, she didn't despair. Because, if Qin Feiyang was still alive, then he must be in the castle and couldn't be seen with the naked eye. She turned her head to look at Wang Yuanshan with pleading eyes. Wang Yuanshan sighed and released his divine sense, covering all directions. Suddenly, his heart trembled. At the bottom of the deep pit, he caught sight of the castle. His heart was filled with disbelief. First, it was bombarded by the Azure Rainbow Sword and the Seven-Star Sword, and then it was bombarded by the Second Elder's self-explosion. But this space divine object was still there? This was too terrifying. Grandfather, did you find it? Seeing Wang Yuanshan silent for a long time, Wang Yuer asked nervously. Wang Yuanshan came back to his senses, and a light flashed in the depths of his eyes. He shook his head and sighed. I didn't find it. What? Wang Yuer's body and mind trembled. The power of the false god's self-explosion is comparable to the full blow of the war god. I think he should have been annihilated together with the space divine object. Wang Yuanshan said. I don't believe it. Qin Feiyang, come out quickly, I beg you, don't die, okay? I apologize to you. I used to listen to you and never talk too much. Wang Yuer lay powerlessly in the void, looking at the deep pit below, muttering to herself, her face full of self-blame. Child, the dead can't be brought back to life. My condolences. Wang Yuanshan patted Wang Yuer's shoulder and comforted her. However, Wang Yuer turned a deaf ear. Tears had already blurred her vision. Lying in the void, her whole body was trembling, and there was no trace of life in her eyes. It's all my fault. I caused your death. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Since we can't be together in life, then let's continue our fate in the underworld. Wait for me, I won't let you be alone. I will always be with you until the last moment. Suddenly, she got up, took out a dagger and slit her neck without hesitation. Wang Yuanshan's expression changed, and his old big hand slammed down. With a clang, the dagger flew out from Wang Yuer's hand and plunged into the ground below. What are you doing? Committing suicide for a person who doesn't like you at all. Are you worthy of your parents who raised you and your grandfather who loved you? Wang Yuanshan roared. He's dead. What's the point of me living? Wang Yuer muttered to herself, her eyes empty, like a walking corpse. Silly. This old man will never allow you to do anything to hurt yourself. Wang Yuanshan snorted coldly, released his divine power, and imprisoned Wang Yuer before returning the way he came. In the ancient castle, everyone, all the beasts, were looking at the scene in the void in front of them. The scene showed Wang Yuer's back. No one spoke. Inside the ancient castle, there was dead silence. Until Wang Yuer's back disappeared in the dust, everyone retracted their gaze and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, who was standing by the side silently. However, still no one spoke. Because love was a personal matter, they had no way to persuade her, nor were they qualified to intervene. Qin Feiyang looked at the scene silently. Although she had left, those words had been lingering in his mind. He's dead. What's the point of me living? It was this sentence that deeply touched his heart. At this moment, his heart was in a mess. After a long time, he took a deep breath, turned to look at everyone, and said with a faint smile, "It's okay, go do what you need to do." Just from his expression, no one could tell what he was thinking at this moment. Qin Feiyang said, "Willow Tree, come out with me." Willow Tree was taken aback and nodded, "Okay." After saying that, the power of the fake god surged and condensed into a barrier. Then Qin Feiyang appeared in the deep pit with Willow Tree. "Where are we going now?" Willow Tree asked. "The capital of the Tianyang Empire." Qin Feiyang said. Willow Tree's heart shuddered. This was the rhythm of wanting to wipe out the people of the Tianyang Empire. Wait. Suddenly, Willow Tree seemed to have thought of something, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Before going to the Tianyang Empire, let's find the Azure Rainbow Sword." "Why are you looking for the Azure Rainbow Sword?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The Azure Rainbow Sword had been destroyed. What was the point of looking for it? Although the Azure Rainbow Sword was cut in two by Chang Shui, the material used to forge the Azure Rainbow Sword is real divine iron. Every divine iron is very precious in today's world, so I think it's necessary to keep it. If one day we're lucky and meet a divine-level weapon refining master, we can find him to reforge it. Willow Tree laughed. So it's like that. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and nodded. "Okay, you go find it, I'll wait for you here." "Okay." Willow Tree nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Yu Huang appeared. Yu Huang condensed a barrier to replace Willow Tree's barrier. With Yu Huang protecting Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree was relieved and immediately went to find the Azure Rainbow Sword. Time passed by breath. Shua. Suddenly, a red-haired old man appeared above Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang. He stood in the void and looked down at Qin Feiyang with an aggressive gaze. Yu Huang looked up and immediately became alert, as if facing a great enemy. Chapter 1569. Yu Huang said in a deep voice, "Why did you come back?" "That's right." The person who came was Wang Yuanshan, who had returned. Wang Yuanshan glanced at Yu Huang and said disdainfully, "I'm looking for your master, not you." "Shut up." Yu Huang was furious. Qin Feiyang reached out and pressed it, sending a voice transmission. "There's no need to be serious with this kind of person." "That's true. It's embarrassing to be serious with this kind of person." Yu Huang nodded and sneered. Wang Yuanshan's eyes flashed with a hint of hostility as he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I came back to give you a warning. Don't disturb you again." Qin Feiyang said, "That's why you lied to her?" "That's right. Only by telling her that you're dead will she slowly let go." Wang Yuanshan said. Qin Feiyang said, "I can understand that you're heartbroken for her, but I'm afraid you can't not disturb her." "What exactly do you want?" "Since you don't like her, then get lost. Does it feel good to play with a woman's feelings?" Wang Yuanshan said angrily. "I've never played with any woman's feelings, including Wang Yu. What I mean is that she will eventually leave the Black Tortoise world and return to the Forgotten Continent. And along the way, I will do my best to protect her. Consider it my compensation to her." Qin Feiyang said. "Leave the Black Tortoise world?" Wang Yuanshan was stunned and laughed sarcastically. "What are you laughing at?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "Where do you think this place is? Your home. Come and go as you please." Wang Yuanshan sneered. You don't have to worry about that. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Haha, kid, you're too naive. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. As long as you enter the Black Tortoise world, you can forget about ever leaving. Because no one can defeat the fire dragon. This will be your final resting place. Wang Yuanshan said. Qin Feiyang said. What if I tell you that I've already killed the fire dragon? You. Wang Yuanshan's expression was extremely strange as he said. Brat, are you dreaming? This old man admits that your strength is indeed very strong. But do you think it's possible to kill the fire dragon? Do you know what you look like now? He's no different from those clowns. Qin Feiyang said lightly. Wang Yuanshan's face fell, and he said with a cold snort. This old man won't argue with you. Anyway, from today onwards, don't let you or know that you're still alive. Qin Feiyang laughed. Then tell me, the Black Tortoise world is only so big. How do you want me to hide it from her? You can conceal your identity and change your appearance. Didn't you just say that you've killed the fire dragon? You can also immediately scram out of the Black Tortoise world. In short, don't appear in front of you or again. After Wang Yuanshan finished speaking in an overbearing manner, he turned around and left. Stop! Qin Feiyang shouted. Is there anything else? Wang Yuanshan stopped and said coldly without turning his head. Qin Feiyang said, If I can really leave the Black Tortoise world, will you let Wang Yuer go with me? No. Wang Yuanshan didn't even hesitate and shook his head. Why? Qin Feiyang asked. Because she's this old man's descendant. This old man has to consider her safety. Even if you can leave the Black Tortoise world, you won't be able to survive in the divine ruins. So instead of letting her accompany you to die, it's better to stay in the Black Tortoise world. In the Black Tortoise world, with this old man protecting her, she won't be in any danger for the rest of her life. Wang Yuanshan said. Haha. Qin Feiyang heard and laughed loudly. What are you laughing at? Wang Yuanshan suddenly turned his head and stared at Qin Feiyang, a cold light flashing in his eyes. I'm laughing at myself for being so stupid to hand Wang Yu over to you. I'm laughing at Wang Yu, or for being so stupid to believe in a selfish old man like you. Qin Feiyang roared. Say that again. Wang Yuanshan's eyes became colder. Did I say something wrong? The Black Tortoise world is a prison. Once the devil mark appears, you can never leave. If it were anyone else in this situation, they would definitely think of a way to send their descendant out of this godforsaken place. But what about you? What did you do? Did you work hard for Wang Yuer? Did you fight for Wang Yuer? No. You didn't do anything and just decided to let her stay in the Black Tortoise world. I want to ask you, are you still worthy of being her grandfather? You have to know that she's your closest kin. Blood is thicker than water. How can you bear to do that? Qin Feiyang laughed angrily. These words seemed to have exposed the dark side of Wang Yuanshan's heart, causing him to gnash his teeth and fly into a rage. It seems that I guessed correctly. Qin Feiyang said, his face full of disappointment. What did you guess correctly? Yu Huang was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said. He's not protecting Wang Yuer at all. Not protecting Wang Yuer? Then why is he? Why don't I understand? Yu Huang said with a frown. The real reason why he wants Wang Yu, or to stay, is because he's too lonely here. And now a close kin has finally come, so he wants to stay by his side. Qin Feiyang said. Don't talk nonsense. Wang Yuanshan immediately roared, a little angry out of humiliation. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know very well in your heart. In fact, I also thought that you sincerely want to protect her, so when you told her that I'm already dead, I didn't say anything. But just now, when I heard your answer, I instantly understood that you're completely satisfying your own selfish desires. Now you still dare to say that you're not a selfish person. Qin Feiyang sneered. Damn. I didn't know that you're actually so scheming. In order to satisfy your own desires, you even drag your own kin into the water. Impressive. Say, if Wang Yuer knows these true thoughts in your heart, what do you think she will do? Yu Huang said mockingly, his eyes full of disdain. Wang Yuanshan clenched his hands tightly, and his eyes were frighteningly gloomy. After a while he said, I'm not afraid of being slandered by you. As a person, you have to live up to your conscience. If you're really lonely and want to find psychological comfort, you can marry a wife and have children. Why do you have to implicate a person who trusts you so much? You can't be too wicked, right? Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Wang Yuanshan's eyes flashed with killing intent. Whatever you say, just don't disturb Yuer's life. Otherwise, I won't let you have it easy, Qin Feiyang said. Then I really have to tell you that Wang Yu must leave the Black Tortoise world with me. His tone was firm, and there was no room for negotiation. Then we'll wait and see. Let's see if your methods are better or mine are better. Wang Yuanshan smiled coldly, turned around, and strode away with a murderous aura. Yu Huang raised his brows and said, That old bastard not only schemed against us, but also his own kin. Why don't we just kill him? Qin Feiyang said. Then what are you hesitating for? Yu Huang was stunned. Qin Feiyang stared at Wang Yuanshan's back and said word by word, If you want to kill him, do it early. Yu Huang was stunned and laughed cruelly. I realize that I'm liking you more and more, kid. After saying that, his divine aura erupted. It shook heaven and earth. Whoosh! Following closely, Yu Huang swept up Qin Feiyang and turned into a stream of light, chasing after Wang Yuanshan like lightning. Wang Yuanshan was shocked and hurriedly turned back to look at the man and beast. Old bastard, who do you think we are? You think we can come and go as we please? Yu Huang laughed sinisterly, his eyes flickering with a strong cold light. You still dare to attack me? Now, you've already offended the Heavenly Sun Empire and the Nether Hall. Do you still want to offend my main tower? Wang Yuanshan said in shock and anger. So what if it's the main tower? On the Forgotten Continent, the people of your main tower were also tortured by me. Qin Feiyang sneered. What do you mean? From what you said, you have a grudge with my main tower. Wait. Since there's a grudge, why does you still like you? Wang Yuanshan was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, Go to hell, someone will tell you. Presumptuous. Do you know who is behind my main tower? Even the people of the Heavenly Sun Empire and the Nether Hall don't dare to provoke my main tower. Wang Yuanshan said angrily. Isn't it just a Vangu League? You think you can scare us? Yu Huang was disdainful. Just you wait. Wang Yuanshan shouted angrily, turned around and began to flee. As a pseudo-god, fleeing without a fight was the most humiliating thing in the world. However, he had also witnessed the means of Qin Feiyang and the others. He had to escape. Humph! However, with a cold snort, the willow tree soared into the sky and stood in front of Wang Yuanshan. Wang Yuanshan's face instantly turned pale. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked past Wang Yuanshan, looking at the willow tree, and asked with a smile, Have you found it? Yes. The willow tree nodded, glanced at Wang Yuanshan and asked, Are you going to kill him? Qin Feiyang also nodded. Very good. The willow tree smiled viciously and looked at Wang Yuanshan. If it weren't for the young masters Chang Shui and Castle, we might have died in the hands of the Heavenly Sun Empire and the Nether Hall. This is all thanks to you. Wang Yuanshan glanced at Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang, then looked at the murderous willow tree. His eyes were full of fear, and he shouted, If you dare to kill me, the Vangu League won't let you go. Now he could only hope to use the name of the Vangu League to scare Qin Feiyang and the others away. However, would Qin Feiyang be afraid? Obviously not. Would Willow Tree and Yu Huang be afraid? Definitely not. In the past, if you mentioned the Vangu League, I would definitely be wary, but now. The Willow Tree laughed. With a clang, the Big Dipper sword flew out from between his eyebrows, and he said domineeringly, With the young master here, a mere Vangu League is nothing. If one comes, I'll kill one. If two come, I'll kill two. Clang. As he spoke, he controlled the power of the pseudo-god and poured it into the Big Dipper sword. As soon as he finished speaking, the Big Dipper sword entered a state of recovery. Go to hell. He took a step forward and slashed at Wang Yuanshan. Wang Yuanshan's expression changed, and he quickly fled to the left. Yu Huang looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Can you do it alone? Don't worry, go and fight. Qin Feiyang activated his armor and the battle formula and smiled. Okay, Chapter 1570. The two divine artifacts had awakened, and their sharpness could destroy the world. In fact, Willow Tree and Yu Huang were also struggling to awaken the two divine artifacts. After all, it was different now. Previously, the two of them worked together to awaken a divine artifact. Now, each of them had awakened a divine artifact. With their cultivation base, it was still difficult to do so. However, such a situation was enough to scare Wang Yuanshan out of his wits. Of course, if he also had a divine artifact, he would definitely be able to give it a try. However, when he came to Peach Blossom City, he did not expect that such a thing would happen. He also did not expect that he would be attacked by two pseudo-gods and two divine artifacts. Therefore, he did not bring any divine artifacts with him. It was really difficult to compete with Willow Tree and Yu Huang just by relying on the divine arts. Boom. Clang. The awakening of the two divine artifacts shook out a thunderous sound, which was deafening. What's going on? Why are there fluctuations of the speed of the divine artifacts again? In the distance, the people who had gathered together had already left one after another. But when they heard the movement, they immediately turned their heads and looked at the center of the explosion, their eyes full of suspicion. Wait. This is Elder Wang's aura. And the 7-star sword. How is that possible? Not long ago, Elder Wang personally told everyone that Qin Feiyang was dead, but why would the 7-star sword that was snatched away by Qin Feiyang appear? Could it be that he is not dead? Among the crowd, there were many people from the main tower. Sensing the aura of Wang Yuanshan and the 7-star sword, they were all shocked. He is not dead. Wang Yuer's delicate body trembled. Was he really not dead? If he was not dead, then why did her grandfather lie to her? Miss, it's too dangerous here. Let's retreat first. The two burly men guarding Wang Yuer looked at the center of the battlefield with a flash of light in their eyes, then turned to look at Wang Yuer and said in unison. Retreat? Wang Yuer was stunned and looked at the two of them. The two of them did not dare to look at Wang Yuer, and looked a little guilty. Wang Yuer asked tentatively, Are you hiding something from me? No. The two of them shook their heads, but their guilty conscience was even stronger. Wang Yuer shouted, Is Qin Feiyang still alive? Tell me. The two of them fell silent. Why did you hide it from me? What is grandfather trying to do? Wang Yuer was furious. One of the burly men said, Everything Elder Wang has done is for your own good. If he really cared about me, he wouldn't have told anyone about the willow tree. What he's doing will only cause me more pain. Hearing that, Wang Yuer's anger surged up and she roared at the two of them. The two looked at each other and nodded at the same time. Miss, I'm sorry to offend you. One of them said apologetically. Then he raised his arm at lightning speed and clenched his 5 fingers together like a blade, hitting the back of Wang Yuer's head fiercely. With a bang, Wang Yuer fainted on the spot. Another person immediately stepped forward and carried Wang Yuer. He said, I'll take her to Elder Wang's residence first. Quickly send a message to the tower master and ask him to send reinforcements. After that, the man opened a portal and walked in with Wang Yuer, without looking back. The burly man who stayed behind immediately took out an image crystal and asked the tower master for help. Just as the burly man sent the message back to the tower master, the sound of fighting in the center of the battlefield came to an abrupt end. What's going on? It can't be over so soon, can it? Even if Qin Feiyang is not dead, he doesn't have the ability to do that. After all, Wang Yuanshan is also an experienced false god. People began to talk again. The burly man also suddenly raised his head and looked at the battlefield, his eyes full of surprise. He even forgot to put away the image crystal. He didn't believe that Wang Yuanshan would be defeated so quickly. Suddenly, faintly, there was a series of footsteps. The footsteps were steady and powerful, as if they carried a supreme magic power that made everyone's heart beat with it. Everyone stared at the dust and smoke. The footsteps came closer and closer. After a while, finally, 2 figures, one in front and one behind, slowly walked out of the dust and smoke and appeared in everyone's sight. It's really them. Looking at the 2 familiar faces, the faces of everyone present paled. That's right. These 2 people were Qin Feiyang and Willow Tree. Yu Huang was also there. But now, it was coiled around Qin Feiyang's index finger, looking like an exquisite ring. Wang Yuanshan was also there. But at this moment, his hair was disheveled and his body was stained with blood. Like a dead dog, he was dragged away by Willow Tree. And there were two extremely eye-catching bloody holes on his body. One was in his heart. The other wound was on his lower abdomen. How is this possible? How long has it been? Elder Wang was actually crippled by them. Just how strong are they? Looking at this scene, people were talking about it. The burly man and the other people in the main tower were also furious and extremely incredulous. Hearing the discussion, Willow Tree smiled disdainfully and said, "Isn't it easy to cripple him with 2 divine artifacts?" "Willow Tree, you're digging your own grave." The burly man immediately roared when he heard that. The other people in the main tower were also glaring at each other with murderous intent. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd, looked at the burly man and asked, "Where's Wang Yuer?" The burly man snorted coldly and said, "The young lady has been sent back to the main tower. Don't even think about seeing her again. You're courting death." Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Yu Huang, who was coiled on his index finger, immediately turned into a deadly stream of light and disappeared between the burly man's eyebrows. "Ah!" With a scream, the burly man immediately fell to the ground and died. How arrogant! Even the people of the main tower were killed without any hesitation. You have to know that the main tower is backed by the Vanga League. Even the Tianyang Empire and the Nether Pavilion don't dare to be so arrogant in front of them. Is this the descendant of the Qin Emperor? Waves of shock surged in everyone's hearts. The man in front of them could only be described with one word: domineering. When the people from the other main towers saw such a ruthless method, they were so scared that they peed their pants and fled for their lives. Qin Feiyang glanced at them one by one and shouted coldly, "Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all." Hee. Yu Huang smiled ferociously. Its skin color changed, and it disappeared into the void. It was like a ghost, and no one could catch its trace. The people from the main tower fell one by one. Blood flowed like a waterfall, dyeing the void red. The mournful and desperate screams entered everyone's ears, and they couldn't help but feel their hair stand on end. What kind of beast was this? It was completely a life-reaping death god. Stop. Suddenly, a furious roar exploded. An old man with mottled white hair appeared out of thin air in the void above. His body was stooped, and his white hair was like snow. He gave people a sense of weakness. However, the aura emitted from his body was extremely terrifying. It was as if a demon god had descended, causing people to feel a sense of fear in their hearts. Moreover, his eyes were also extremely sharp. Like frost, cold light flashed. What? It's actually the deputy tower master of the main tower. He actually came in person. This means that the main tower is very afraid of this Qin Feiyang. The crowd was in an uproar. However, Yu Huang didn't have any intention of stopping. It was full of provocation. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also raised his head to look at the white-haired old man. Although the white-haired old man was very strong, Qin Feiyang's expression and eyes didn't change at all. It was as if he didn't care at all. His name is Pei Yinchang. His cultivation talent is average, but his alchemy talent is extremely terrifying. It is said that now he can already refine pills with 7 pill patterns. Willow Tree explained. 7 pill patterns. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Refining 7 pill patterns, in the entire Great Qin Empire and Forgotten Continent, only he could do it. But he didn't expect that there was actually someone here who could do it. However, why would Willow Tree say it is said? It is said that it is not confirmed, which is equivalent to a rumor. Usually he only refines pills with 5 pill patterns. He rarely refines pills with 6 pill patterns. As for 7 pill patterns, no one has ever seen it, but there are rumors. So at present, except for himself and the people of the main tower, no one knows whether it is true or not. Willow Tree saw the doubts in Qin Feiyang's heart and secretly said. Qin Feiyang nodded his head in realization. Willow Tree whispered again. And he has another identity, this is absolutely true. What identity? Qin Feiyang asked. Willow Tree said. the medicine boy of the main tower's first-generation tower master. What? Qin Feiyang was shocked. It was actually the medicine boy of the first-generation tower master? This identity was a little scary. Although the two words medicine boy sounded a little inconspicuous, as the medicine boy of the first-generation tower master, it was extraordinary, because the first chief pagoda master was definitely an extremely terrifying alchemist. Not to mention becoming his medicine boy. Even getting close to him was a very difficult thing. So, to be able to catch his eye and keep by his side, he must be a monstrous figure. Chapter 1571. At the same time, Pei Yunchang was also sizing up Qin Feiyang. His eyes were as cold as iron, which made Qin Feiyang's heart palpitate. But from the beginning to the end, he didn't say a word. Turning his gaze, he glanced at Wang Yuanshan, who was lying on the ground, on the verge of death. His brows furrowed. After that, he turned his head and glanced at Baiming Yuhuang. Those people from the main pagoda were all killed by Yuhuang. Young friend, what is the meaning of this? Pei Yunchang turned his head, looked at Qin Feiyang, and asked in a calm tone with great majesty. If Qin Feiyang's temperament was not good, he would definitely be frightened by Pei Yunchang. However, what kind of situation had Qin Feiyang not seen before? He smiled faintly, looked straight at Pei Yunchang, and said, "You have to pay the price for doing wrong, right?" This old man agrees with this sentence. But this old man doesn't understand. What did Wang Yuanshan do wrong? Why did you treat him so cruelly? Pei Yunchang said. He set up a trap and wanted to kill me. Is that enough? He used the trust of his relatives to satisfy his own selfish desires. Is that enough? Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Pei Yunchang nodded and asked, what about them? Pei Yunchang pointed at those people who were killed by Yu Huang and said, what did they do wrong? You want the spirit snake to kill them all. Because they wanted to kill me, just like Wang Yuanshan. If I don't kill them now, I might die in their hands one day. To eliminate future troubles, you should understand this principle, Qin Feiyang said. Yes. If I still don't understand this old man has lived for so many years in vain. Pei Yunchang nodded and said, this old man will investigate Wang Yuanshan's matter carefully. If it is really as you said, this old man will punish him severely. But now, little friend, please return him to this old man first. You want me to return him? Do you have that much face? Yu Huang flew back and joked. This old man doesn't have much face. However, this old man believes that I still have some strength. If I don't use my divine weapons and divine arts, it will be very easy for me to kill you. Pei Yunchang lowered his head to look at Yu Huang and smiled. Oh my! So awesome! Yu Huang let out a strange cry and said with a chuckle, then this emperor will really have to experience it. Boom! It soared into the sky and floated in front of Pei Yunchang. The power of a fake god surged out and turned into a huge wave. It carried with it a world-destroying divine might as it rushed toward Pei Yunchang. Even the void started to distort at this moment. But for this, Pei Yunchang only smiled faintly. He raised his aged arm and grabbed at the air. With a thunderous boom, Baiming Youhuang's false divinity might was instantly destroyed. Immediately after, Pei Yunchang pointed out a finger, and a strand of false divinity energy shot out, piercing through the air and heading straight for Yu Huang. What? Yu Huang's eyes widened. How could it destroy its pseudo-god force so easily? But before it could think about it, Pei Yunchang's pseudo-god force had already arrived. It quickly mobilized the pseudo-god force to form a shield wall in front of it and said, this emperor doesn't believe that you can break this shield wall. Let's wait and see. Pei Yunchang lowered his arm and had no intention of attacking again. Damn. How arrogant. Uncle can tolerate this, Aunt can't. Yu Huang was furious. The pseudo-god force surged out crazily, and the shield wall became thicker and thicker. When Pei Yunchang's pseudo-god force hit the shield wall had already become 5 or 6 meters thick. A pseudo-god force and a shield wall that was 5 or 6 meters thick. It looked like an ant trying to shake an elephant. However, the result was far beyond everyone's imagination. Boom. The pseudo-god force hit the shield wall heavily. The shield wall shook violently and a few cracks immediately appeared. As the pseudo-god force hit, the cracks became bigger and bigger. Yu Huang was so shocked that its eyes almost popped out. How could this emperor lose? It roared and the pseudo-god force poured into the shield wall crazily. However, that strand of false god's power was like a divine needle that possessed an indestructible power. The cracks on the shield wall could not be stopped. More and more. It was getting wider and wider. This emperor is not convinced. In the end, in Yu Huang's unwilling roar, the shield wall collapsed. The pseudo-god force also stopped at Yu Huang's vital point, exuding a shocking sharpness. The whole place was dead silent. Qin Feiyang was also dumbfounded. After being together for so long, how could he not know Yu Huang's strength? Although it was not invincible, at least it could be regarded as one of the best among the pseudo-gods. But at this moment, facing Pei Yunchang, it showed a scene of crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. They were both pseudo-gods. How could the gap be so big? Are you convinced? Pei Yunchang looked at Yu Huang indifferently. This emperor? Yu Huang stared at Pei Yunchang coldly. It couldn't even block a wisp of pseudo-god force. What could be more embarrassing than this? It seems that you are still not convinced. Pei Yunchang's eyes flashed coldly. That wisp of pseudo-god force suddenly turned in the air and easily shattered the snake scales on Yu Huang's body, entering its sea of qi. Ah! Yu Huang screamed and blood flowed out. Its sea of qi was destroyed and its cultivation was lost. Its huge body immediately fell from the sky. Qin Feiyang's expression changed and shouted, "Willow Tree, quickly!" Willow Tree quickly rushed up, supported Yu Huang, and landed beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang hurriedly checked Yu Huang's injuries. Seeing that only its sea of qi was destroyed and its life was not in danger, he breathed a sigh of relief. Don't be nervous. If I really wanted to kill it, I would have directly pierced it 7 inches and not just destroyed its sea of qi. From this, I believe you can also see that I am not here to go against you. I just want Wang Yuanshan back. Pei Yunchang looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and looked up at Pei Yunchang. He didn't find any trace of deceit on Pei Yunchang's face. It was full of sincerity. Qin Feiyang said, I can't give you Wang Yuanshan. Before Qin Feiyang could finish, Pei Yunchang raised his eyebrows and said, Young friend, I have already given you enough face. Can you let me finish? I can't give you Wang Yuanshan, but if you exchange it with Wang Yu, I can consider it. Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yuanshan quickly looked up at Pei Yunchang and shouted, Deputy Palace Master, you can't agree to it. He has ulterior motives for you, or you still dare to call me that? It seems that I went too easy on him. Willow Tree's eyes turned cold. He kicked Wang Yuanshan in the mouth, shattering his teeth and spitting out blood. Pei Yunchang looked at this scene with a trace of anger in his eyes. He said word by word, Willow Tree, he is from the main tower. So what? You are indeed strong. After all, you have reached stage 7 of the false god realm. However, the divine artifact in the young master's hand can kill you instantly. Willow Tree sneered. In the past, he definitely wouldn't have dared to say such a thing. On one hand, it was because Pei Yunchang was very strong. On the other hand, it was because of the Vanguo League. But now he was full of confidence. When he heard the divine artifact mentioned by Willow Tree, Pei Yunchang's pupils shrank slightly. He seemed to be a little wary. Obviously, someone had already told him about the power displayed by Chang Shui and the ancient castle. Stage 7 of the false god realm? Qin Feiyang was a little stunned. He turned to look at Willow Tree and asked, What is stage 7? It's a long story. I'll tell you later. Willow Tree said secretly. He looked at Pei Yunchang and said in a very domineering manner, Now you have no choice. Either you listen to the young master and bring Wang Yu to exchange, or we kill Wang Yuanshan and you take his body back. Pei Yunchang lowered his head and looked at Willow Tree, his eyes flickering. Chapter 1572. Pei Yunchang clenched his fists and landed in front of Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang. He looked at Willow Tree and said, Even the Nether Hall's Hall Master doesn't dare to speak to this old man like that. You'd better learn how to restrain yourself. Don't compare me to the Nether Hall now. Willow Tree smiled disdainfully. One shouldn't forget one's roots. Without the Nether Hall's nurturing, would you be where you are today? Pei Yunchang looked at him, as if he was looking at a clown. I admit that. However, I've done many things for the Nether Hall over the years. It's time to repay them. Willow Tree said. Unreasonable. Pei Yunchang snorted coldly and ignored Willow Tree. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, This old man will bring Wang Yuer here now. You better not hurt Wang Yuanshan. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Don't worry. He won't die before Wang Yuer arrives. Pei Yunchang looked at him deeply before opening a teleportation gate and leaving. This brat is amazing. Yeah. He offended the Heavenly Sun Empire, the Nether Hall, and the main tower as soon as he arrived in the Black Tortoise world. Since ancient times, apart from the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace, he's probably the only one who dares to be so arrogant. Everyone sighed. Qin Feiyang looked at Yu Huang and asked, Are you all right? I won't die, Yu Huang said through gritted teeth. Qin Feiyang said, Did you use your full strength when you fought with Pei Yunchang earlier? Of course. Yu Huang nodded. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. Originally, he wondered if Yu Huang was too arrogant and did not use his full strength. That was why he suffered such a great loss. However, it turned out to be true. It seemed like this Pei Yunchang was not an ordinary person. Qin Feiyang looked at Willow Tree and asked in a low voice, What's the 7th stage? Yu Huang also looked at Willow Tree suspiciously. This matter is very complicated, so I'll just explain it briefly. You know that in the Black Tortoise world, no one can break through to the God realm. The false God realm is the highest realm. However, there are differences in the false God realm. In order to make this distinction even clearer, the Eternal Alliance and Palace of Heaven Bestowment came up with a plan. To divide the God realm is. They are the first segment, the second segment, and the last segment, the 10th segment. Of course. Such a division is also to show the identity and status of the strong. Ars the two zzzzzzzzzz. Lu Mu secretly explained. To say. To the to the to T2. To the masters. Yu Huang asked, How do you measure these ranks? Consciousness. You're a false god, so you must know that when we break through to the false god realm, we'll give birth to our first consciousness. Willow Tree said. That's right. Yu Huang nodded. Can you explain it to me? However, Qin Feiyang didn't quite understand. It's very simple. According to our usual cultivation method, break through to the false god realm and condense more consciousness. When the consciousness reaches a certain level, it'll give birth to A's consciousness. Once a consciousness appears, it'll be the god of war. Lu Mu secretly transmitted his voice and laughed. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, How much consciousness do we need to condense to give birth to a consciousness? The ancients said that the path to becoming a god has 9 as the limit and 10 as the perfection. Therefore, to give birth to a consciousness, we need to condense 100,000's consciousness. It's a long and arduous process, Willow Tree said. So the 10 stages of the false god realm in the Black Tortoise world are determined by the number of consciousness? Yu Huang asked. Yes. 10,000's consciousness is the first stage. 20,000's consciousness is the second stage. 30,000's consciousness is the third stage. And so on. Willow Tree said. According to what you said, Pei Yunchang is at the 7th stage. Doesn't that mean he's condensed 70,000's consciousness? Qin Feiyang was shocked. That's right. Willow Tree nodded. Then you? Yu Huang asked. Me. Willow Tree was slightly surprised and smiled bitterly. I've just entered the second stage. There's still a long way to go before I reach Pei Yunchang's level. Wait a minute. Isn't it impossible to break through to the war god realm in the Black Tortoise world? Why is there a 10th stage? Yu Huang asked. Although you can't break through to the war god realm, you can condense your consciousness, but you can't give birth to a consciousness. Willow Tree said. Yu Huang nodded and asked again. Then how many people in the Black Tortoise world have 100,000's consciousness? Very few. The only ones I know are the Lord of the Main Tower, the Lord of the Nether Hall, and the Monarch of the Heavenly Sun Empire. But there are rumors that the people of the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace are all at the 10th stage. Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang was shocked. They were all at the 10th stage. If that's the case, wouldn't they be able to give birth to a consciousness and become a true war god? Wait a minute. Can't you guys leave the Black Tortoise world temporarily? Then why don't those who reach the 10th stage find a chance to leave the Black Tortoise world and break through to the war god realm in the outside world? Qin Feiyang said. It's useless. As long as the devil mark is still there, even if you leave the divine ruins, you won't be able to give birth to a consciousness. Willow Tree shook his head. What a bunch of pitiful people. They can become true war gods, but they're still bound by the devil mark. I think they must be in pain and despair. Qin Feiyang sighed. That's right. Willow Tree sighed deeply. Wait a minute. Suddenly, Yu Huang seemed to have thought of something as she frowned. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang and Willow Tree looked at him in shock. Baiming Yu Huang raised her tail and smashed Wang Yuanshan unconscious. After that, she glanced at Qin Feiyang and spoke in a low voice. According to Lu Mu's words, wouldn't the spirit congealing pills be very precious here? Qin Feiyang was stunned and also frowned. It is very valuable. The Nether Hall, the Heavenly Sun Empire, and the Main Tower are all trying to find or steal the ingredients for the soul-condensing pill. After all, anyone who reaches the pseudo-god realm wants to become a 10th stage big shot. Willow Tree said. Yu Huang was stunned and a trace of self-deprecation appeared in his eyes. Qin Feiyang's face was also a little ugly. What's wrong? Willow Tree looked at Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said bitterly. Yu Huang and I were thinking that the soul-condensing pill might not be worth much here, so we planned to get more. Yeah. We thought that since we can't break through to the war god realm and the Black Tortoise realm, then we definitely don't need the soul-condensing pill. We even planned to rob the Heavenly Sun Empire's treasure vault. Yu Huang said. When Lu Mu heard this, he looked at them with a shocked expression. Haha. Suddenly, Willow Tree laughed and said, How can you have such a childish idea? Shut up. Yu Huang glared fiercely at him. Her embarrassment turned into anger. Qin Feiyang was also a little embarrassed. Willow Tree held back his laughter and asked, When did you plan to rob the Heavenly Sun Empire's treasure vault? Why didn't I know? Before Peach Blossom City was destroyed. At that time, you went back to the Nether Hall's stronghold, and I went to the main pagoda's stronghold with Wang Yuanshan. But before going to the main pagoda's stronghold, I asked Yu Huang to secretly go to the Heavenly Sun Empire's stronghold to see if there were any treasures or something. In the end, Wang Yuer and I parted on bad terms, so we rushed to meet up with Yu Huang. We planned to rob the Heavenly Sun Empire's treasury there. Then Yu Huang and I went to the Nether Hall's stronghold to look for you. And then we met the 5 great elders of your Nether Hall. Qin Feiyang said. Willow Tree shook his head speechlessly and said, The soul-condensing pill is not as cheap as you think, but you guessed one thing. What? Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang looked at him suspiciously. The treasure vaults of the major forces have indeed accumulated a lot of medicinal materials for the soul-condensing pill. And they all have their own medicinal fields. Especially the 2 major forces, the Vanga League and the Fengtian Palace. If you can rob their treasure vaults and medicinal fields, it's enough for you and your companions to all step into the war god realm. But the premise is that you have to successfully become a god and step into the false god realm. Willow Tree looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. There are so many? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. The Black Tortoise realm itself has a lot of medicinal materials for the soul-condensing pill, and the major forces are carefully cultivating them, so there are even more. Willow Tree said. Yu Huang was stunned, and looked at Qin Feiyang and said, In other words, the plan will not change? Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, No, the plan must be changed. Don't you have the medicinal materials for the soul-condensing pill? Why change the plan? Yu Huang was suspicious. Qin Feiyang sneered and said, The change of plan I said is not giving up. Then what is it? Yu Huang didn't understand. Isn't it simple? His goal is not only the Heavenly Sun Empire's treasury, but also the main tower and the Nether Hall's treasure vaults. Willow Tree smiled. Yu Huang was stunned, and he looked at Willow Tree and said, "You mean he wants to rob all the treasuries of the three major forces?" "Yes. Anyway, there's already a feud, so there's no need to be afraid of offending anyone." Willow Tree nodded. Yu Huang's eyes were dull, but the next moment he became excited and shouted, "I like it. This is what I have to do if I want to achieve great things." Shoo. Willow Tree's expression changed, and he quickly made a shushing gesture and said, "Lower your voice, what if others hear?" Yes. Such a crazy plan must be kept a secret." Yu Huang nodded and smiled sinisterly. Willow Tree was speechless. What was the difference between robbing the treasuries of the three major forces and committing suicide? How could he be so excited? I really don't know what's in this guy's head. Swoosh. After waiting for a while, Pei Yincheng finally brought Wang Yuer. Looking at Wang Yuanshan, who had fainted on the ground, Pei Yincheng's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly asked, "What did you do to him?" Wang Yu also looked at Wang Yuanshan with concern. Willow Tree said calmly, "Don't worry, he just fainted. It's nothing serious." Pei Yincheng sighed and looked at Qin Feiyang. "I've brought Wang Yuer here, let her go." Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer. Wang Yuer also looked up at Qin Feiyang, and tears welled up in her eyes. She muttered, "Thank God you're not dead." Qin Feiyang smiled and stretched out his hand. "Come here." Chapter 1573. Although Wang Yuer just wiped away her tears and didn't do anything else, she seemed to be melting and couldn't help but crawl into Qin Feiyang's arms. This time, Qin Feiyang didn't resist. He held the woman in his arms calmly, because of what Wang Yuer had done for him and what she said. What's the point of living if he's dead? He was really touched. At the same time, Willow Tree also grabbed Wang Yuanshan and threw him to Pei Yincheng. Pei Yincheng hurriedly reached out and caught him. He immediately took out the spiritual sea pill and the healing pill and stuffed them into Wang Yuanshan's mouth. Yu Huang looked at Qin Feiyang and Wang Yuer, who were hugging each other, and murmured, "Is this what they call lovers finally get married?" No. This is what Wang Yuer earned through her hard work. But it makes sense. She was willing to die for a man. If we don't cherish such a woman, we should be struck by lightning. Willow Tree snickered. Yu Huang chuckled and said, "Boy, Qin Feiyang is your young master. Aren't you afraid that he will beat you up for talking about him like that?" "He will beat me up for telling the truth. Is there any justice in this world?" Willow Tree pursed his lips and then raised his eyebrows. He looked at Pei Yincheng, who was still standing opposite, and said, "Get lost. Do you want us to collect your corpse?" Pei Yincheng glanced at him coldly, and then looked at Qin Feiyang with a cold light in his eyes. All of a sudden, Qin Feiyang's face turned pale, and he felt a sharp pain in his lower abdomen. He hurriedly pushed Wang Yuer away and immediately saw a black dagger on his lower abdomen, from which purple gold dragon blood kept dripping. His chi-si was pierced in an instant. His cultivation was flowing away quickly. Qin Feiyang's face was full of disbelief. "How dare this woman sneak attack me?" Yu Huang and Willow Tree were stunned and also turned pale. But just as they were about to take action, Wang Yuer took a step forward and grabbed Qin Feiyang's neck at a speed that was completely different from before. Her eyes flashed with a shocking light. "Let go of the young master," Willow Tree roared. "Qin Feiyang treated you so well, but you actually harmed him. How vicious." Yu Huang also stared at Wang Yuer with a murderous look. "Haha." Wang Yuer laughed out loud, but her laughter was full of mockery. Pei Yincheng's face was also full of smiles. "What happened? Why do I feel that there is something wrong with this woman?" Willow Tree glanced at Pei Yincheng and Wang Yuer. He secretly transmitted his voice to Yu Huang. "I also feel that something is not quite right," Yu Huang thought to himself. Then look at Qin Feiyang. At this moment he was sizing up Wang Yuer. The disbelief in his eyes gradually disappeared, and was replaced by a wisp of viciousness. "You are not Wang Yuer." Suddenly, Qin Feiyang spoke. His pale face was gloomy. "Not Wang Yuer? How is that possible?" Her aura and body fragrance are exactly the same as Wang Yuer's, isn't it? Willow Tree and Yu Huang's eyes widened in surprise. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "This can only mean that her disguise is very good. Even when I was hugging her, she couldn't tell." Damn it. Pei Yunchang, you actually played tricks. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were furious. They stared at Pei Yunchang, who was standing opposite them. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Haha. Pei Yunchang smiled faintly and looked at Qin Feiyang. After all, you are still too young. In terms of tricks, you are still far behind. Indeed. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. However, you have to pay the price for this. Qin Feiyang grinned. Haha. Pei Yunchang laughed and said, "Now that your sea of qi has been destroyed and your throat is being held by her, as long as I give the order, you will die in an instant. I really don't understand. What else can you do?" Damn it. Despicable old bastard. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were mad with anger. Don't move otherwise. Pei Yunchang made a throat-cutting gesture, his old eyes full of cold light. Willow Tree and Yu Huang froze and did not dare to take half a step forward. At this time, Wang Yuanshan also woke up. Seeing this scene, he was stunned at first, then looked at Wang Yuer and said with relief, "Yuer, this is the right thing to do. I am not your descendant." Wang Yuer turned her head and stared at Wang Yuanshan. She took a face-restoring pill and quickly became a middle-aged woman. This woman looked to be in her 30s. She took good care of herself. Her skin was soft and there were no crow's feet at the corner of her eyes. She was quite charming. "Sherlan?" Wang Yuanshan was stunned and asked, "Why is it you? Where is Yuer?" "So it's her." Willow Tree muttered. "Who is she?" Yu Huang asked secretly. Willow Tree thought. "She is the 9th elder of the main tower, and is also a pseudo-god. Her cultivation is similar to mine, and she reached the 2nd stage not long ago." Then we're in big trouble. Yu Huang's heart trembled. If Sherlan was only a war king, then there was still a chance to save Qin Feiyang. But a pseudo-god, it was really not confident. Hearing Wang Yuanshan's words, Sherlan said indifferently, "Wang Yuer is in your residence. I am here to capture Qin Feiyang." Wang Yuanshan suddenly understood. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes filled with hatred. Boom. He took a step forward and without saying a word, directly punched Qin Feiyang's face, and said with a sinister smile, "You didn't expect to fall into my hands so quickly." Half of Qin Feiyang's face was swollen, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. However, he didn't even frown. "Come on. Continue to be arrogant. Why aren't you saying anything? Do you think you're worthy of Yuer?" Wang Yuanshan became more and more arrogant, and he pinched Qin Feiyang's chin hard, his face full of ferocity. Wang Yuanshan, stop. Seeing that Wang Yuanshan was getting more and more out of hand, Pei Yunchang frowned and said. Wang Yuanshan was stunned, and he turned to look at Pei Yunchang puzzled. "Deputy Palace Master, aren't you going to kill such a madman?" "No, because the Pagoda Master wants to see him," Pei Yunchang said. Wang Yuanshan asked suspiciously, "Why does the Pagoda Master want to see him?" "I don't know." Pei Yunchang shook his head. Wang Yuanshan looked a little angry, and he turned to stare at Qin Feiyang, and said telepathically, "Count yourself lucky, but as long as you are in the main pagoda, I have a way to kill you. Just wait and see." Qin Feiyang lifted the corner of his mouth, and he silently spat out a few words, his eyes full of mockery. "Bastard! Do you want to die?" Wang Yuanshan suddenly went crazy, because he had read those words. "Clown!" Qin Feiyang ignored him, looked at Pei Yunchang and Sherlan, and said lightly, "Since your pagoda master wants to see me, why don't you let me go?" Sherlan sneered. "Kid, don't play tricks." As Pei Yunchang said, "You have already destroyed my sea of qi. What tricks can I play? Don't tell me you are afraid of a cripple." Qin Feiyang sneered. Sherlan immediately frowned. Qin Feiyang joked, "Although you are old, your beauty is not bad, so don't put on a fierce look, it's ugly." Sherlan was stunned. How dare he tease her? "Kid, I think you are really not afraid of death." She suddenly tightened her 5 fingers, and Qin Feiyang immediately entered a state of suffocation. Sherlan, let go of him. Pei Yunchang shouted. If he accidentally killed this brat, he wouldn't be able to report back to his superiors when he returned. This kid has a spatial divine item, and the willow tree and the phantom snake are also eyeing him covetously. Are you sure you want me to let go? Sherlan turned to look at Pei Yunchang. Pei Yunchang's expression froze, and he glanced at the willow tree and Yu Huang. To be honest, he did not dare to let Sherlan let go of Qin Feiyang. Buzz. He opened a portal and looked at the willow tree and Yu Huang warily. He said to Sherlan, "Take him in first." Sherlan turned around and instantly rushed into the portal, her 5 fingers never leaving Qin Feiyang's neck. Wang Yuanshan also ran in. Willow tree, we will settle our accounts in the future. Pei Yunchang said to the willow tree, and also turned to enter the portal. Soon, the 3 of them disappeared with Qin Feiyang. The portal also quickly collapsed. What should we do? Yu Huang looked at the willow tree and asked. If the young master was not brought into the main tower, I might have thought of a way, but now, if we want to save him, we have to sneak into the main tower. There are as many powerhouses as there are clouds in the main tower. This is simply impossible. The willow tree shook its head, completely at a loss. Without Qin Feiyang, even if he had the 7-star sword, he could not withstand the revenge of the Nether Hall. And because of Qin Feiyang, not only did he become a traitor of the Nether Hall, but he also offended the Heavenly Sun Empire and the main tower at the same time. In other words, in the Black Tortoise world, he had fallen into a situation where the entire world was his enemy. Wait. Suddenly, the willow tree was stunned. After pondering for a moment, he turned to look at Yu Huang and transmitted his voice. Did you notice that the young master doesn't seem to be very nervous after Sherlan destroyed his qi? Yu Huang was also stunned. After thinking carefully, he nodded and said, "Yes, it's true. His life is at stake. How can he still be so calm? Could it be?" The willow tree was surprised. What? Yu Huang asked. Do you think the young master wants to enter the main tower himself? The willow tree thought to himself. Yu Huang asked, You mean he wants to go in and save Wang Yuer? Yes. The willow tree nodded. This. Yu Huang hesitated, shook his head and said, Qin Feiyang, this brat, acts mysteriously. I really don't dare to make wild guesses. Forget it. Let's go to the main tower first and hide, and act according to the situation. The willow tree gritted his teeth and transmitted his voice. Okay. Yu Huang nodded. Follow me. The willow tree immediately opened a portal and ran in. Pei Yunchang, damn you. How dare you go against me? This emperor will never let you go. Yu Huang grumbled, his eyes were incomparably gloomy, and then followed in. This place quickly calmed down. I really didn't expect things to develop like this. Yeah. First it was the Tianyang Empire, then the Nether Hall, and now the main tower. Putting everything else aside, this brat's methods are indeed terrifying. People were amazed. But there were also people who refuted. Humph. So what if his methods are terrifying? Didn't he still fall into the trap of the main tower? In this world, having a brain is the most important thing. Without a brain, just strength is a boorish man, understand? That makes sense. Now that this brat has fallen into the hands of the main tower, he's probably dead. He deserves it. A good peach blossom city was destroyed by him just like that. If he doesn't die, is there still justice? It's all in the past. Why are you still complaining? Yeah, we might as well rebuild Peach Blossom City quickly. After all, everyone has lived in Peach Blossom City for so many years, and they are already used to it. They definitely don't want to settle down elsewhere. Then let's get to work. For a time, everyone joined in the reconstruction of Peach Blossom City, and they were very busy. However, no one noticed that an aura quietly spread out from the river of bone erosion. This aura was colorless and odorless, and it spread out in all directions. Chapter 1574. At the same time, western part of the Black Tortoise boundary, in the depths of a huge mountain, there were overlapping peaks that reached the sky. In the mountain, Ancient trees reached the sky and ferocious beasts were everywhere. Streams of torrential rivers ran through the mountains like giant dragons. At the peak of the mountain, there were ancient buildings. Palaces, fortresses, stone towers, etc. That's right. This was the main tower's lair. A huge stone tablet stood at the edge, and the words "Main Tower" were engraved on it, emitting a shocking aura. Swoosh! Suddenly, 4 figures appeared above the stone tablet. They were Qin Feiyang, Shilan, Pei Yunchang, and Wang Yuanshan. This is the main tower? Qin Feiyang scanned the steep mountain and the ancient buildings. He was shocked. Although he did not see anyone, he could sense the aura of many ferocious beasts in the mountain stream. These auras were all above the combat emperor level. Pei Yunchang glanced at Qin Feiyang, and his old eyes flashed. He looked at Shilan and said, "Bring him to his divine tower to meet the tower master." "What about you?" Shilan was stunned and asked. Pei Yunchang said, "I still have some things to take care of." "Okay." Shilan nods her head and immediately leads Qin Feiyang to fly towards the tallest mountain peak. That mountain was like a sword that pierced through the clouds. There was an ancient tower at the top of the mountain. It had a total of 12 floors, and was more than 100 feet tall. It looked as if it was made of gold, and it shone with divine light. When Shilan and Qin Feiyang disappeared into the divine tower, Pei Yunchang immediately retracted his gaze and waved his hand. The false god power rolled out and turned into giant waves that surged in all directions. "Deputy Tower Master, what are you doing?" Wang Yuanshan looked at Pei Yunchang suspiciously. "Qin Feiyang has been captured. The willow tree and the spirit snake will definitely think of a way to save him. Therefore, I have to seal the tower temporarily. Pass down the order later. During this time, everyone in the tower can only leave and not enter." Pei Yunchang said. "Lord, you are so thoughtful," Wang Yuanshan said with a flattering smile. A short while later, a huge divine power boundary was formed and shrouded the entire tower. On a mountain peak dozens of miles away, 2 figures suddenly appeared out of thin air. It was Willow Tree and Yu Huang. When the Willow Tree saw the divine power barrier, his expression changed and he angrily said, "That old bastard, he actually set up a barrier." Yu Huang's gaze also darkened as he said, "With the barrier, we can't sneak in at all. What should we do?" Without the barrier, Yu Huang could easily sneak in with his innate ability. But now, with the barrier in the way, its innate ability was completely useless. Willow Tree pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, "There's no other way. We can only wait outside and wait for the young master's news." "Wait. How long do we have to wait? Let's just revive the divine artifact and charge in," Yu Huang said with a murderous glint in his eyes. "No. Because of the Vanga League's help, the tower has developed rapidly over the years, and its overall strength is stronger than the Tianyang Empire. The Tianyang Empire has 8 pseudo-gods, but the tower has 12 pseudo-gods. And there are divine artifacts. With our strength, if we charge in, it's tantamount to walking right into a trap. Now we can only wait. If the young master is really trying to save Wang Yue, then he must have a way to escape. When the time comes, we can attack the tower from the inside and catch them off guard," Willow Tree said with a sinister smile. "All right." Yu Huang nodded, looking rather annoyed. Golden Divine Tower. On the top floor, which was the 12th floor, the decorations here were quite luxurious. The floor was inlaid with white jade, spotless and untainted. The surrounding walls were filled with all kinds of gems and colored glaze. Even the tables, chairs, and bookshelves were carved out of divine wood, and were extremely beautiful. And right at the top, there was a luxurious and imposing chair that was made from a type of divine jade. There was a woman sitting on top of it. This woman was about 35 or 36 years old. She wore a long golden dress with a fire phoenix embroidered on it. Her soft long hair was tied up high with an exquisite hairpin inserted into it. Her skin was very soft and full of luster. Her facial features were also very exquisite. Bright eyes, full red lips, thick black eyelashes, and a voluptuous figure made people's eyes light up. In short, time did not leave any traces on her face. And there was a very eye-catching flame totem in between her eyebrows. That flame was like a lotus that flickered with hazy divine light, and it made her originally graceful appearance even more stunning. She sat on the throne, holding a jade cup in her hand, silently tasting tea. Like a queen, she had a strong aura, giving people a strong sense of deterrence. Swoosh! Sherlan brought Qin Feiyang and landed below. Greetings, Tower Master. Sherlan immediately bowed to the woman above. She's the Tower Master here? Qin Feiyang was surprised. He never thought that the Tower Master of the Black Tortoise Realm was actually a woman. Wait. The previous Tower Master of the Forgotten Continent seemed to be a woman. Could it be her? Qin Feiyang carefully observed for a while, and found that the woman in front of him was completely different from the statue in the Land of Inheritance. It seemed that they were not the same person. No need for formalities. The woman put down the jade cup, smiled gently at Sherlan, and then looked at Qin Feiyang. Her gaze did not have that kind of aggressive feeling. She seemed very calm and gentle. However, Qin Feiyang did not dare to let down his guard. To be able to become the Tower Master, controlling the fate of countless people, how could she be a simple woman? What's more, Willow Tree said that this person had reached stage 10 of the False God realm. Qin Feiyang. A moment later, the woman finally spoke. It's me. Qin Feiyang nodded. The woman smiled. Sherlan, let him go. Sherlan's face changed and hurriedly said, Master, although this child is young, he is a dangerous person. You can't let him go. No problem. The woman waved her hand. Sherlan raised her eyebrows, and could only helplessly let go of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang rubbed his neck, glanced at Sherlan, who was vigilant of him, and looked at the woman with a smile. Thank you, Tower Master. Aren't you nervous? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? The woman asked with a smile. Of course I'm afraid. But what can I do if I'm afraid? Will you let me go if I'm afraid? Qin Feiyang said. I won't. The woman shook her head. That's right. Since you know that you can't escape death, you might as well accept it calmly. Qin Feiyang laughed. The woman was quite surprised and praised. Good temperament. You flatter me. Tower Master, just tell me, why do you want to see me? I don't remember having anything to do with you. Qin Feiyang looked straight at the woman, neither servile nor overbearing. The woman smiled. You and I really don't have anything to do with each other, but what? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The woman said, Sherlan, you can leave first. Tower Master. When Sherlan heard this, her face was full of anxiety. Leave. The woman spoke again, and her tone was different from before, with a majesty that couldn't be disobeyed. Yes. Sherlan's eyes trembled, and her figure flashed, disappearing without a trace in an instant. The woman said again, Come out. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback, and looked around. Was there someone else here? Da-da. Accompanied by a series of footsteps, a woman in white quickly walked out from behind a screen. It's you. Qin Feiyang looked at the woman in white, and his expression was incomparably astonished. The woman in white directly threw herself into his arms, and tears flowed out, instantly wetting Qin Feiyang's chest. Qin Feiyang shuddered, hurriedly pushed the woman in his arms away, took out a facial restoration pill, and said warily, Take this facial restoration pill first. What are you doing? The woman in white looked at him suspiciously. Take it. Qin Feiyang said. Don't worry, I won't use the same method twice. This time, the Wang you are standing in front of you is the real one. The woman said. That's right. This woman in white was Wang Yu. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was still alive, she felt as if she had been reborn and was overjoyed. But she didn't expect that Qin Feiyang actually doubted her. Qin Feiyang looked up at the woman and said with a smile, It's hard to know what's in a person's heart. Anyway, I don't want to be taken advantage of a second time. The woman was about to speak, but Wang Yu directly grabbed the facial restoration pill and threw it into her mouth. A moment later, seeing that Wang Yu's expression didn't change at all, Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief and said apologetically, The situation forced me to take precautions. I hope you can understand. It's okay. Wang Yu shook her head. Qin Feiyang said, Didn't you say that you were at your grandfather's residence? Why are you here? Wang Yuer said. It was the tower master who brought me here. Qin Feiyang frowned, looked at the woman and said, You want to see me, don't tell me it has something to do with you, Yes. The woman nodded. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. From you, I learned that you used to be the disciple of the Tower Master of the Forgotten Continent. And you also obtained the supreme secret technique of the first Tower Master, the soul refining technique. And you even snatched the divine crystal. The woman said. Qin Feiyang's eyelids twitched, looked at Wang Yuer and said, You said it again? No. Wang Yuer hurriedly shook her head. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and asked suspiciously, Then how did she know about these things? I don't know either. Not long ago she came to find me, and I don't know what she did to me, but she soon found out everything. I really didn't say it, you have to believe me. Wang Yuer looked anxiously at Qin Feiyang and said, I believe you. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer and after a long time he smiled, looked up at the woman and said, What exactly do you want to do? The woman took out a spiritual stone and said with a smile, Let's test your spiritual energy first. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, grabbed the spiritual stone, glanced at the woman, closed his eyes, and entered a meditative state. Wang Yuer stood obediently at the side. Soon. The spiritual stone trembled. Once. Twice. 10 times. 25. 40 times. In the end, the spiritual stone actually trembled 45 times in a row. In other words, Qin Feiyang's spiritual energy had already reached level 45. This made Qin Feiyang extremely surprised. He didn't expect that after all these years, his spiritual energy had actually become so much stronger. The woman looked at the spiritual stone and seemed to be deeply shocked, not saying a word for a long time. Chapter 1575. Seeing that the spirit stone was about to hit the woman's face, the woman suddenly raised her arm and grabbed the spirit stone. Crack! Immediately after, with a slight force from her 5 fingers, the spirit stone shattered and turned into powder. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. Was she going to fall out with him? But the result was beyond his expectations. The woman did not fall out with him, and was still as quiet as a virgin. Looking at Qin Feiyang, she smiled and said, Let's make a deal. Deal. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said, This junior is all ears. The woman asked, You should be very clear about the situation in the Black Tortoise realm, right? Qin Feiyang nodded. The woman smiled and said, I can escort you and you heir out of the Black Tortoise realm, and even help you deal with the Heavenly Sun Empire. Is there such a good thing? Then the price I have to pay must not be small. Qin Feiyang said, For you it's not much of a price, because those things are not yours in the first place. I want the soul refining technique and the divine crystal. The woman said. Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly darkened. The woman smiled and said, The soul refining technique and the divine crystal are originally my main pagoda's things. You should return them now. What a joke. According to what you said, everything in this world, including your life and mine, was given by the creator of this world. Then, don't we have to return everything to him? Qin Feiyang was so angry that he laughed. This can't be generalized. The woman shook her head. This is the same principle. If you want to take it by force, just say it. Why do you have to beat around the bush? Qin Feiyang sneered. Hee, the woman smiled and said, I'm discussing with you. Discussing? Then I'll tell you there's no room for discussion. Qin Feiyang said. The woman shook her head and sighed. You're making things difficult for me. Why? You're angry and ready to attack? Is this still a discussion? Isn't a discussion consensual? Qin Feiyang sneered. Alas! I really admire you. You have such terrifying means at such a young age. In the future, you will definitely become a great talent. So don't be so stubborn. If it's yours, it's yours. If it's not yours, don't take it for yourself. What's the difference between this and bandits? The woman sighed. I'm a bandit? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He really didn't know how to describe his current feelings. It was clearly this woman who wanted to rob him. Yet she turned around and accused him of being a robber? How could there be such a shameless person? Now he had finally seen the true colors of the people from the Black Tortoise world. To put it bluntly, this woman was even more thick-skinned than the state preceptor. The woman said, "Don't make things difficult for me. Do as you wish. Anyway, my goal is to save Wang Yuer. Now that I have achieved my goal, I won't waste any more time with you." With a cold smile, Qin Feiyang turned around and grabbed Wang Yuer's hand, preparing to enter the castle. However, looking at this scene, the woman didn't stop him. If one looked carefully, they would even find that the corners of her mouth were pursed with a hint of mockery at this moment. Qin Feiyang was also quite surprised. Why didn't she stop him? Was she so confident? However, he ignored her. But just before he entered the castle, Wang Yuer, who was pulled by him, suddenly took out a dagger and directly pierced Qin Feiyang's back, who was unprepared. Qin Feiyang's face was filled with disbelief in an instant. He turned his head to look at Wang Yuer, only to find that Wang Yuer's eyes were blood-red at this moment. The love and tenderness that she had shown to him before were gone, leaving only indifference, as if she had become a different person. How could this be? Qin Feiyang roared. But Wang Yuer smiled coldly, pulled out the dagger, and waved her hand. A black iron chain swept out of the Qingquan bag, making a clattering sound, and firmly bound Qin Feiyang like a dumpling. Then, Wang Yuer handed the other end of the iron chain to the woman respectfully. Holding the iron chain, the woman looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Now you can't escape. This is gravity magic iron." Qin Feiyang's face changed. He turned his head to look at Wang Yuer, then looked at the woman and said angrily, "What did you do to her?" "She is the descendant of Wang Yuanshan, so she is also my descendant. What can I do to her? I'm just temporarily controlling her. When you hand over the soul refining technique and the divine crystal, I will naturally return her freedom," the woman said. Controlled. Qin Feiyang was shocked. He hurriedly looked at Wang Yuer and shouted, "Wake up, I'm Qin Feiyang." But no matter how he shouted, Wang Yuer's expression did not change at all. "It's useless. Now she has no consciousness of her own. She will only listen to my orders. Even if I ask her to die in front of you, she will not hesitate." The woman laughed. "Bastard! You even dare to do this to your own people. You are simply vicious." Qin Feiyang was infuriated. It was obvious. This woman wanted to use Wang Yuer to threaten him and force him to hand over the soul refining technique and the divine crystal. The soul refining technique was a divine art. Once he handed it over, he would lose it completely. As for the divine crystal, although its power was very ordinary in the past, he always felt that the divine crystal might be hiding some secrets. Otherwise, it would not have caused many forces to fight over it. "I'll give you a choice now. Do you want Yuer, or the soul refining technique and the divine crystal?" "Actually, I suggest that you choose Yuer. After all, Yuer is beautiful and talented, and she is so infatuated with you. Moreover, if you choose Yuer, you will have my main pagoda as your backer. During your time in the Black Tortoise world, I can guarantee that no one will dare to hurt you. I can even hold your wedding personally," the woman said. "Then shouldn't I feel honored and happy?" Qin Feiyang sneered. "It's an honor for me to preside over your wedding. I can even help you connect with the Vanga League. If you can win the favor of the Vanga League, you can even become a giant in the Black Tortoise world, let alone get rid of the Tianyang Empire." The woman smiled. "Not only are you not ashamed of being someone's dog, but you are also proud of it. I really admire you for being so open-minded," Qin Feiyang said. When the woman heard this, anger finally appeared on her face. She said, "I've given you enough face, so I advise you not to challenge my bottom line." Qin Feiyang sneered. The woman raised her eyebrows and looked at Wang Yuer. "Go, stand in front of him and stab yourself in the heart." Qin Feiyang's body trembled. He shouted, "You can really do it. There's nothing in this world that I can't do." The woman smiled. At the same time, Wang Yuer walked in front of Qin Feiyang, raised the dagger in her hand, and stabbed it directly into his heart. "No, no!" Qin Feiyang shouted. But Wang Yuer turned a deaf ear. The dagger went into his heart with a puff. Blood immediately spurted out like a fountain. The dagger seemed to have pierced Qin Feiyang's heart. He felt a sharp pain in his heart. Stop. Don't hurt yourself anymore. Wake up. Qin Feiyang shouted anxiously. At this moment, he was really afraid of losing the woman in front of him. The woman smiled faintly. She won't stop without my order. Before she finished speaking, Wang Yuer pulled out the dagger again and stabbed it into her heart. She seemed to be numb and didn't know pain. Even when the dagger went down, her eyelashes didn't even tremble. Damn it, she's a member of your main tower. How can you do this to her? Do you still have any humanity? Qin Feiyang roared. His eyes were bloodshot and he was furious. If I say she's a member of the main tower, she is. If I say no, she isn't. Even Wang Yuanshan can't stop her self-destruction. Only you can save her now. If you want her to stop, then give me the soul refining technique and the divine crystal. The woman picked up the jade cup and sipped the tea while looking at Wang Yuer, who was hurting herself. Not only did she not have the slightest pity, but she seemed to be enjoying a wonderful show. You're too vicious. I swear, I will kill you with my own hands. Qin Feiyang stared at her fiercely. This was even more vicious than snakes and scorpions. She was simply crazy. The woman smiled and didn't say anything else. She leisurely tasted the tea. Stop, please. Don't hurt yourself again. I believe in you. You can do it. Wake up. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuer helplessly. His heart felt like it was being stabbed. In the past, he really didn't have any feelings for Wang Yuer. But ever since he saw Wang Yuer die for him in Peach Blossom City, he suddenly realized how foolish he had been in the past. Why didn't he know how to cherish such a good woman? Therefore, he wanted to try hard. He wanted to like her, understand her and accept her. But now, Wang Yuer was standing in front of him, but he couldn't do anything. Apart from facing his mother, this was the first time he hated his own incompetence so much. He hated the heavens even more. All these years he had worked hard enough. His life had been bumpy enough. Why did they have to treat him like this? Why? Why exactly? There were so many people in the world. Couldn't they be fairer to him? Damned heavens, how long are you going to torture me? I can't accept this. Why should I be tortured by you like this? Since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. In this life, if I, Qin Feiyang, don't break the rules of this world and pierce through the heavens, I swear I won't be reincarnated. Qin Feiyang raised his head and roared. His blood-red hair fluttered like a mad beast. However, he was more like an enraged demon god. Boom. The purple-gold dragon blood in his body burned crazily. The sea of qi that was destroyed by Sherlan actually began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, an unyielding will, anger, and murderous intent roared out from his body and pounced on the woman like an avalanche. The iron chain made of gravity divine iron was shattered into pieces. What? The woman's pupils contracted. At this moment, she actually felt the threat of death from Qin Feiyang's body. In the depths of her heart, there was an uncontrollable terror that surged out uncontrollably. How could this be? He's just a 6-star combat emperor. How could he give me such a strong sense of danger? The woman muttered to herself, unable to accept this fact. No. I can't let him continue to grow. If I kill him, although I can't get the soul refining technique, I can still get the divine crystal. The woman suddenly stood up and sent Wang Yuer flying with a palm strike. Puff! Wang Yuer spat out a mouthful of blood and hit the wall beside her. She immediately fainted. Immediately after, the woman raised her arm. Her index finger was like a sharp arrow and pierced towards Qin Feiyang's glabella. Before she could get close, Qin Feiyang's glabella was cut open and blood flowed out. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.